buddies? It's the Bennington Show. Gail Bennington on maternity leave. She's being maternal right now. That's why she had to leave. It is a beautiful Thursday. At the end of the show today, we're going to play this podcast I did with Dean Del Rey. We asked him if we can run it. He is a musician, comedian, all-around dude, and we've gotten a lot of feedback, and we thought that some of you guys would like to hear this. Earl, he loves music as much as you do.
Came across that way.
But it feels like you stopped loving music.
I always love music.
Okay.
Love. Listen to it every day.
Oh, and that's a big fan.
He told me he just likes ambient noise.
Earl, and you also told us that you can play the guitar, although we've seen nothing. No thing to actually prove that.
Why?
You playing guitar is your version of a girlfriend in Niagara Falls, Canada. We hear about it. We never see it.
He did say we could yell chord progressions at him and then he'd just follow along.
Well,
like guitar karaoke here.
You took that beat down on the Kanye thing this week. I actually feel embarrassed for you. Everybody's turned on Kanye, including yourself, right, Earl?
Yeah, I got off the train musically a couple of years ago. Yeah. And now he's just, he really belongs. I don't think he belongs in a hospital. I think there's something clearly wrong. They keep sticking a mic in this guy's face.
In the state of Florida, it only takes 3 people, I believe, to Baker Act you. 3 people need to say, this person is acting kooky, and then they take you into an insane nut house, I think for 3 days. And they run a battery of tests, and it's up to you to prove that you're sane. Well, like 3 dudes from work can say, I mean, you don't think all 3 of us would sign off right now that Chris is crazy? I mean, that's easy enough. And then it takes some days to get out. Like, even if they come in and you're like, oh, you don't seem crazy, but it's still going to take you another 48 hours to get out of here, because that's the law.
I'd be in there constantly. Thank God I'm not in Florida.
Could you just pull pranks on, could you just prank the fuck out of somebody?
I guess you could end up in big law trouble for your prank,
like a bomb threat.
Yes, I wouldn't even use that word, but yes, like one of those. You got to be very careful when you're pranking with 911. They don't get it. What's that thing when you say there's a gunman in a house and then there isn't?
Oh, that's swatting.
Yeah. People who SWAT end up in giant trouble.
Yeah, and it's mostly like people it's like people from people playing video games online. That was like where it started, where people would get pissed.
We get mad and
like screw this guy. I'm gonna dox him, find his information, and then say there's shit going down in his house.
We used to do a thing when I was in school because you could make a call and say, look, and you would never call the police. You would call the local paper and say, what I'm hearing, there's a race riot at Chichester High School on Friday. It was always on a Friday. But they were so nervous because one kid got, stabbed during, they called it a race riot, but what it is 2 kids fighting and then their friends jumping in. We weren't like you guys where we were like, oh, back up, everybody, fair fight. You don't like to see your friend in a fight. But they turned that name into a race riot, and it kept the adults pretty edgy for a couple of years. But never would call the police and say that. That would be, or even the school, because they would say you were lying. But if you called one of the local papers, it would get the buzz going. And then that kegger was free for everybody. Even you pussies who are afraid to fucking take a little day for yourself.
And we never steal a tap at one of the keggers. That's some really fucked up shit.
Flathead, a friend of mine, thought that Danny Archdeacon's tap was his tap, tried to untap the fucking keg, and Danny, who I was more friends with than I ever was with Flats, I didn't even become friends with Flats the year, knocked him the fuck out. Now, I was also in a thing in Chester, Pennsylvania. I would have been about 16 years old. We're at a fucking house party. I don't even think I knew the people or kind of knew the people. The fucking tap was stolen. These kids go running outside with it. They jump in their car. We all go running out. This guy comes wheeling out, fucking hits me with his car. I go rolling over the top of it, over a fucking tap, a fucking beer tap. Now I'll say this. It's hellish when you got 3/4 of a keg and no way to get that out of there. It's a terrible fucking feeling.
Yeah.
But was it worth being smashed with a car with? And you know what? This fucking kills you. I told you, I get hit, roll over the top of it, out the back, nothing but scrapes. How does this happen to young people? If I got just bumped by a car now, the hip would probably explode. You guys wouldn't see me for. But I take just a fucking roll. I don't think young people are even have nothing to do with gravity. They're like fucking grasshoppers, where it seems like they're in the same gravity, but they're fine.
These two guys I knew, they were, how you shared the bike, one would ride on the back wheel, and
I never would do that in my life.
I've never done that.
Yeah,
they were doing it down Astoria Boulevard. They get hit by a bus, and one of the sisters saw it, and he goes, all you see is like the bike. It was like a scene out of a movie. You saw the bike, a shoe. They all fit. Nothing.
Everybody's fine.
Everybody's fine. Everyone's laughing at the end of it.
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, you got hit by a bus.
Earl has an extreme phobia of buses. I have been crossing streets with Earl before, and he'll grab me and start to run and yell, "Bus, bus, bus!" And I go, "What are you talking about? You worry about buses all the time." And then he told me that buses have a legal right to hit you. They have more of a right than the people in the street. And I get that there's a lot of pressure driving. I can't understand how you do it. And those double buses.
The accordion part?
Yeah. I mean, who takes that job?
Crazy, desperate
that
crazy
job
man.
should pay $600,000 a year. Like, I don't think I know a person who could even make the left-hand turn with that accordion bus.
Yeah, you got to start like halfway.
I don't know how you do it.
I don't either, but I always cringe when that happens because you just see the.
You think you're going to be killed?
Yeah, because if that thing kind of goes the wrong way, it hits another car.
He looks at buses the same way he looks at cops. Like something could go wrong at any second. Is it because the Debo and his friend got hit by buses when you saw it? Isn't that funny though? We just said like those scenes in a movie. They just throw the bike in the air. You know what I mean? They throw a pair of pants in the air, and you're like, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
It doesn't happen in reality.
I have had the fantasy that I would go running into like 6th Avenue when it was busy because a toddler had walked out there, and I grabbed the toddler and I'm running. And as the bus is coming, I fucking arc the toddler into the air so the crowd catches. I get hit by the bus, and, I'm a hero.
End scene.
Yeah, I'm always looking like, please let me see a toddler in the traffic. No, the scene ends when I come out on crutches on the Tonight Show and the Roots are playing There Goes My Hero, and I'm milking it and having fun. And throwing out the first pitch, but I fall because half of my body is down. I mean, I really get to have that hero run. I just want to be a hero. I've always wanted to catch a baby being thrown out of a building.
Like, didn't the Subway Superman, didn't he get on a game show?
Yeah, the Subway Superman got to do a lot of stuff. He had a stupid thing. He jumped on the subway, grabbed the guy who had fallen on the tracks, and then they both laid down while the subway went over him. That I'll never do.
No.
I'm not going to lay down while the subway goes over me.
No, because if the guy was like overweight, they both would have been killed.
You don't
because
know the geometry. You don't know it enough.
You don't know it enough because there's places where the tracker's lower than other places.
Yeah.
So you could just be taking whatever that shit that hangs onto a subway, which I couldn't even tell you, and it just starts to go into your head and pulls you along.
I'm gonna guess a coil's gonna rip your head off.
I don't want something to go through my head and then I'm still living.
Yeah.
There was a scene of that, and I know you guys don't like or watch Lodge 49 because you're fucking nerds. But there was a thing where something went through a guy's head and he doesn't die, and I've always been scared of that. And then you guys have heard the trapped in the subway and it spins you around.
Oh yeah, when you get
and
stuck.
the second, like you're still alive and you're numb and you're screaming. but the second that they pull it back out, you die because whatever the thing that's holding you together, and they'll go and get your wife or whatever. In this case, they'd have to, for you, Chris.
Yeah.
Just grab a stranger, have them put on a mask, and pretend they were someone in your family.
Mom?
Hello, Chris.
Sound different. Like,
This is your mom. Please know you're not getting out of this safely.
And I have been on a train where we've hit someone, and
What the fuck?
yeah,
You were on a train where it hit a human being?
yeah,
Homeless person or?
I think it was. They were, and it. I remember because it's like 3 a.m. Everyone's half asleep, and all of a sudden you just hear thud, and then silence for about 10 minutes, and then you just see people running around, and they had to evacuate the train. And I remember the cop. There was a cop there, and I'm going.
They evacuate you in the tunnel?
Yeah, we had to go through the tunnel, up and out.
How does that? First of all, before we even get to your horrible story, how does that? I've always been curious. So you're walking the tracks, right?
Yeah.
And then how do they get you up?
There's like little escape hatches, and it's like little vertical stairs. And you go through a grate. They open the grate.
You've done this?
I've seen it before. I've walked the tracks before. But that's because I had
You're cool. Stand by me. What was it? You and your friends?
I was at a station that uptown and downtown. I was on the wrong train. Wasn't on the same track, and I didn't want to pay an extra MetroCard fare, so I walked the tracks to get to the side that I needed to go. I was very stupid. I should have just paid the $2. But yeah,
no, I think you did fine. I mean, everything worked out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here now. But yeah, there's plenty of like little doorways in between stations that you can get into. I always wanted to go into one.
No, you don't. It was. I remember asking the cop, going, "Oh, it's like, is this person all right?" And he just goes, "What do you think?" I was like,
"It's a stupid
whoa.
question, Earl."
No, I was just it was just I was just trying to get some reality to it because you're in the haze at that point.
Reality? You're just fucking heard a man get murdered.
I didn't think you'd be able to.
I don't think he's murdered.
Oh yeah,
unless somehow the engineer was dating the guy's wife, has to meet at that place and hit him with the train. Now you claim that a friend of ours is an engineer now, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that she's driving the train.
She got a job as a conductor, and I've been trying to figure out which one it is.
Can we call her? Val used to be an intern for us. That job, and I've read about that job, you end up with a lot of stuff in your fucking nose and everything because you never get off the train.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I never heard about that.
Yeah. There's a lot of downside to staying in underground tunnels for 8-hour shifts. And you're not even supposed to have breaks.
Yeah.
No eating. I mean, it's really fucking weird. And people scream at you and throw trash at you and sometimes try to take a swing.
And there's always signs in stations saying like attacking a member of the MTA is a felony because people have to put that up.
Of course it is. That goes with attacking Vito is a felony. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get mad at Vito and hit him with a shovel. And I can't even explain, like, you don't understand some of the dumbest shit that he was saying to me. That's a felony. I don't have a right to do that. But you have to point out to people that these conductors aren't animals.
There's that video that came out a while ago of the people just beating the shit out of the conductor.
I think you make a pretty decent living and you get the, the 20-year deal and all that.
Yeah, but I remember when they had the last contract negotiation and the MTA tried to raise the retirement age, and the union had a lot of blowback because they're like, that retirement age, most of those guys are dead by that time. That's how bad the life expectancy is.
It looks really fun, though, like to be the fucking person who's not only saying what street it is, but you get to push that thing. And you know what I mean? I think I would love it.
I've always said, like, what if I became a train MTA's fucking employee?
You seem like it, though. Do you look like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. The end isn't running today, so you're going to have to go upstairs to transfer to the queue.
And do you feel like you would just make fun of anybody who makes change or one of those jobs? You know what I mean? Even though we don't have those amount of those people as we used to. Like when I first came to New York, that was the only way, I think. I don't even think you had the fucking machine.
Tokens, right?
Yeah, you would just get tokens, and they would be gruff and terrible with you, and they would behind that spitty glass. You know what I mean?
All scuffed up.
Yeah, you see how many people would spit or kicked at it or whatever. And then remember they did that fucking movie about the train, robbing the train in New York?
Money Train.
Money Train. And you poured gas into it and then fucking,
Yeah, there was a
with
guy running around lighting up the.
Yeah. And that's like everybody was watching when it came out. And that was only in the 90s. And everybody was like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this thing is far-fetched. They're going, you're just giving people ideas. Have you ever been, like, late at night and saw the trash train come by?
Yeah, garbage train, yeah.
That fucking fascinates me. Where does it go?
I don't know.
How do they fucking decide when it's full? You know what I mean?
And then there's, like, an office train, too, where, like, where it's just, like, it's weird looking cars with like tables and shit in them. Where I guess like, I don't know, MTA officials are riding around.
But that sounds like the money train.
It could be the money train. I don't know.
But now because so many people are using credit cards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back then it was just straight cash. You look like an idiot if you pulled out a credit card for anything. Now, here's the other thing too, is like, as I gotten older, I become more and more obsessed with garbage removal and how it's done. You know what I mean? Like, I can look at a city and go, oh my God, that's impossible. I look at my own block. It's impossible. I put out some fucking chairs the other day, and I was going to come home that night and smoke a cigar while I sat in my chair and take pictures of me. Like, my fight, you know, like it was going to be a funny thing for the whole family. The chairs were still there, but somebody come and just taken the cushions.
What?
And I'm like, do they think they have the exact same size chairs? Because I really wanted to see like a bum sitting in the chair, maybe smoking a cigarette, reading the paper. You know what I mean? Like that would have been great too.
Yeah.
But why would someone think, oh, I have the exact same? This cushion is perfect for me. Take the whole fucking chair, dude.
They just want something soft. Taking a whole chair is too heavy to lift.
Look, most of the time, if you throw out any kind of furniture in New York, it just disappears on its own. And then, is the trash man, if he sees something of value, can he take it too?
I think so, yes, because I've heard of garbage men saying, yeah, I got a bunch of great stuff.
There is like I think there's like a museum in New York of stuff that people have taken off garbage dumps. And there's like paintings and fucking statues and all kinds of shit, because people in New York, they don't have enough space, so they throw away a lot of good fucking shit. You know what I mean? So you might get a painting, throw out a painting. You know what I mean? You get a fucking couch, your mom just fucking says, we're buying you a couch. You're throwing out a perfectly good couch.
Or a lamp or something.
Yeah, lamps are all over. Like, there's desk lamps. Like, a lot of places you'll think, oh, in my neighborhood, it used to be called trash picking. If you went trash picking, you know what I mean? You'd pretty much given up. But here, I've seen a library's worth of books on the Upper East Side where I look over and I go, some of these books look valuable, but they don't know what the fuck to do with them.
In college, kids used to just furnish their apartment just by going and grabbing couches and shit off the street.
I think all young people
do like that. You clean it up a little. It was a little scary during the bed bug period where like bed bugs were running rampant.
Guess who had bed bugs?
Who?
In finance.
Oh, no.
And he was telling me about it, right? And I'm like, I'm laughing in his fucking stupid mustachioed face, you know, just thinking about him itching and stuff. And he had actually told me he put poison on his own bed and laid in it. And he goes, and he wakes up the next day with the hives. And I go, you might be allergic to poison. I don't know. But I was laughing so fucking hard. I said, you got to do the bed bug thing, right? And then he said, no, I can't. I'm fucking humiliated. I'm embarrassed about it. So he brings me up on New Joke Night. And I go, Ian Finance, everybody, he has bed bugs. And now he has a really fucking funny chunk because I fucking forced his dumb fucking self into this thing. Now he was like, isn't it funny if your friend has bed bugs?
It's hysterical. Yes.
Now it's funny. But when the bed bug thing first hit, I remember people would be fucking freaked out.
They're still freaked out.
Yeah.
People are still freaked to even hear about it. I don't want to I started itching. The second he told, because I was right near that fucking curly hair of his. I saw one drop down and into my pants.
I didn't go to that movie theater over here for like 6 years because
Which movie theater?
the Times Square movie theater. Because that would every time the bed bugs came back, they would say it started at the 42nd Street movie theaters.
Well, I don't go there because I don't want to hear black people yelling out what they think the direction of the movie should be.
I go there for that. Me and my friends will pick like a shitty movie that'll come out and go to the Friday showing just
First
to see
of all,
the crowd.
every movie is a shitty movie now, so you're pretty well.
Still talking to the black people. Still talk to the screen.
Oh yeah,
Black people do. Puerto Ricans have definitely picked up on it, and the occasional white person. The difference is white people are never funny when they yell out.
I was at what was the movie with Jamie Foxx when he was in the Desert Storm. Some guy kept yelling "Steamin' Millie
Jarhead.
Some drunk white guy kept yelling "Steamin' Millie Beeman" whenever he came on the screen. Gotta laugh the first 3 times.
It was you, dude. Why are you fucking saying it was someone else?
in high school they did like a screening of the fucking first Spider-Man movie because it was like raining out or something, and the kid in my class just goes to use the web for the first time. The kid goes, "You shouldn't use that. That's crazy." And it was just the fucking most annoying. One, like if you're gonna argue any of the unrealistic stuff, that's the first thing you choose, and it's just not a funny joke.
I know. Sometimes it works. When it works, it's fucking wonderful. There was some shitty trailer. I mean, a packed fucking thing. Gail knows the whole fucking story. But at the end of this shitty trailer, this guy yelled out, "That looks awesome." And the entire place fucking laughed. Now I'm thinking this, and she said, according to her, people were still laughing deep into the next movie. It was funny. But you could get away with that joke any fucking trailer now. Because every trailer looks terrible. The last time I went to a fucking movie, this motherfuckers, it was supposed to start at 8 o'clock. The fucking pre-TV show went on to 8:20. I'm fucking furious at this, right? And then the fucking half hours of trailer started. I had finished my popcorn. I ended up hating this movie, and I'm not sure how much of it had to do with my entire experience. But the theater experience has become shit. Now they're opening up another theater where you can get a fucking steak or whatever while I'm watching. I don't want that.
No, look, all right, Alamo Draft House. I went there for the first time like last year. It adds getting a beer and food adds nothing to the fucking experience. It takes away from it. I just want to go there and watch the fucking movie.
You want to disappear into the movie.
Yes.
You don't want to be like, "Oh man, where's the beer lady?"
I'm looking at
look, I didn't get any steak sauce.
Looking at a menu.
Yeah, looking at a menu. There's like lights underneath the thing. It's fucking. It's not a good experience. It's for people who don't like movies who go to fucking Alamo Draft.
Well, that's
House.
all of us now, including the people who claim they. I'm reading that people are mad. There's too many Joker movies. I go, guess why? You fuckers, you fuckers who care about Joker movies are the reasons that movies suck. So I hope every fucking movie has the Joker in it now. I hope every movie has the Joker and a fucking Kanye West fucking soundtrack because you fucking shit eaters have fucked up American culture. So enjoy your fucking overpriced sneakers, you morons. And stop calling them kicks. You've got to move on by now.
They can't. They're sneakerheads.
I think we're the only country that uses the word sneaker, and it is a strange fucking thing. But I can't stand tennis shoes.
It's tennis shoes
because you're not playing tennis. I don't like basketball shoes because who's going to wear a $180 fucking pair of fucking shoes out on a basketball court? Which, by the way, you stink. You may like to fucking play basketball online, but you can't in real life. Earl, when's the last time you went out and played basketball? Who was president? Nixon? Was it during the Watergate era?
I think.
I know you played against Eastside Dave.
That was the last time I played.
You got your ass whipped too. Why did you take that on? How much did you bet?
It was like $1,000.
Holy shit.
Dave is a fucking jock. You know? He's shocking jock. You talked to him lately?
I have not. I have not talked to Dave lately.
He is pissed about it. But I wanted to tell him his Shizer list should probably have Norm Macdonald on it because Norm ends his show singing along with a song.
Oh no!
And I believe that's Dave's, is it not?
Yeah, he always ends with a song. Yeah, and has a bunch of songs in the middle, but he ends on the song as well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's songs that pop up all the time.
Yeah.
That's why whenever I do a show, and I haven't been invited in a while, I try to drop name check fucking songs or I put in lyrics so I could just make them go into that. But the three of us should go down and do this show. Everybody but Vito should go down and do a show. You don't have never even met Dave, have you?
I have. I'm on the Shizer list.
Oh, yeah. You fucking canceled on him.
I couldn't go. I had to go do something with my mom, and he said it was fine.
You're booked on a show. You can't say I have to go do something with my mom. That's okay if your sleepover gets canceled. But let's suppose we book people on this show. The fucking star calls us and says, "Oh, I got to do something with my mom."
I had to. It was something important. It was something that had to be done in the apartment that she needed help with. So I told her I would do it. And then I said, could we reschedule this for next week? I was told it was fine. There was no issue.
Who told you that?
Big A told me everything was fine.
Can I just tell you something? Big A does not have the last word. All right. He's an easygoing guy until he hits the stage.
I found that out the hard way.
You're pussy whipped by Leslie, man.
My
fucking mom, man.
And you talked about his mom's vagina, Chris. This is one of those reasons why you don't have any close friends. Okay?
All right.
I don't know whether you've ever watched Guy Code, but part of the Guy Code is you don't bring up your friend's mom's vagina ever. Are you with me on that, Earl?
Absolutely.
That's straight Guy Code. All right?
No mom pussy.
He just said it again.
There's nothing I could say because,
Dude, nobody would have a problem if you grabbed that pen and start stabbing him in the neck.
I have a problem with it.
What movie was that in?
It's Goodfellas.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Casino.
That was Casino, yeah. He had a nice sharp pen, and he was just fucking killed the guy with it. You have every right to that, and there's not a jury that would convict you. You know why? Guy Code. Every jury...
That's law?
Yeah, no, it's just a code that juries go by. It's not a law. Laws are made by other people. But... us guys, we have a code.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I got one of this code.
You know, the way you're always a wingman for Earl.
Oh,
you know
sure.
what I mean?
Oh, now I understand.
Yeah. Or Earl, you've never dated one of Chris's exes. And that's because of Guy Code.
He's following Guy Code. All right.
Now, let me ask you this. Guy Code. Once you book a guy's code, right? When you say, I'll do your podcast or Smodcast, as I call them, you can't come back and say, my mom's asked me to go to this fucking store. You know why? Guy Code. We have a code, us guys.
What about mom code?
I take a look. Show me where it's on TV.
It's on MTV.
Guy Code, Girl Code. Yeah, they're not running on the main MTV channels, but we know, we know where they're coming from. We have a code. A mom code doesn't exist on basic cable.
Not even like an HGTV.
Show me anywhere. I demand that you show me it's streaming.
I don't think that.
You know what we're all starting to think right now? We could be putting together the next big thing, Mom Code.
Yeah.
And it's moms and their comedians' children. And I'm not even fucking kidding about this. We have a code show that could be added to the whole pack.
This is brilliant.
Yeah, because we stole the whole code part.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris can't do it because
he
doesn't have a lot of experience.
I'm sorry, fellas, but my passed away a long time ago. Maybe your dad could get remarried and you'd have a new mom.
My dad passed away as well.
Well, then your grandparents.
No, they're long gone, Ron. I only met two of them.
Earl, you were raised by your grandmother, right? Mama?
I had a grandmother, but I was raised by my mother and father as well.
This seems highly unusual. Maybe we could do a show with Earl and his family going, you're not going to believe this. Beating the odds, we could call it. Holy shit, Earl, that would be fantastic.
They've been married for 60 years.
60 years. Your dad cheated every day.
No.
Wow, good for him.
60 years.
Yeah.
My parents have been married 104 years. Doesn't it seem like a lot?
That's a long time. Could be the longest.
Maybe a little too long. Maybe some of the stuff isn't making sense. Who knows? Do 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 do. Your parents play music at home, Earl?
My father's been a serious subscriber for 10 years.
What's he listen to? The 40s channel?
40s channel, blues channel, R&B channel.
I love that your dad loves the fucking blues.
Sports radio.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to, my father's record collection was Ray Charles, The Miracles, Aretha Franklin, The Coasters, Otis Redding, and then Sinatra.
There's not a stiff in the whole thing.
And Ella Fitzgerald. I had Ella Fitzgerald.
Do a lot of black people like Sinatra?
Love Sinatra.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I've heard that from a lot of people.
Tony Bennett, too.
You know why? Because both those people have soul. Like their own, you know what I mean? Like they sing from that place.
And I think it was the other thing. Like he put Sammy over. He always stuck up for Sammy.
Yeah, but it also did a lot of jokes at his expense, I watched the movie. I saw what happened. Man, black people used to have such great music until they just stopped singing and started rhyming. Well, my name is Pete, and I'm here to say...
Is that Kanye?
No, it would be like a... Let's take a break here. Coming up a little later on in the show, Dean Del Rey, we're playing the podcast I did with him. And that's because I'm going to be off doing something with Lisa Lampanelli this afternoon. That's on AOL. But Dean Del Rey's podcast. And how do people listen to that podcast on their own?
Dean Del Rey's podcast, Let There Be Talk. That's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and SoundCloud. That's everywhere you can get it. You can get it everywhere.
Also, I'll be at the Newtown Theater this Saturday, October 6th. Go to the newtowntheater.com for tickets. We're right back, Bennington. It's the Bennington Show. Earl, you were telling me something during the break that I did my normal. Hold it for the air. Do not spit gold on the ground, folks. You were telling me you and your friends got together and you have some kind of opinion.
Yeah, we were discussing.
Now, this is your hard rock friends, your Black Rock Coalition friends, your photography friends, your bakery friends. How many goddamn pools do you swim in?
Swimming a lot of pools, Ronnie. No, but we were somehow the conversation came up about because I think there was a poster for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that was still up.
First of all, I didn't even know that another one came out. How many is this now? Like 100?
No, it was like the movie from a couple years ago. They never took the poster down, and I was talking about how my nephews loved this show. They loved the TV show,
the TV cartoon. Show, the cartoon, the Michelangelo and Donatello, Raphael, and Petey. Was one of them named Petey?
And I was like, they had everything. They had the bed sheets, they had the bags, they had everything, and they just looked at me like I was crazy. And they're like, how did you let your nephews support such a racist show?
No, you mean racist against turtles?
And I was like,
or mutant turtles?
Guys named Shredder?
So I was like,
Japanese people?
So I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, listen, he goes, look at their names. It was Donatello. It was Michelangelo. It was, what was the other one? Leonardo.
Yeah.
It's like, all European names, all the names of European artists. And I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? Like, well, the villains' names was Jazz and Bebop. It's like, so
I'm starting to see this now. I did not think you were going anywhere. And I'm like, shit. This is an anti-jazz, particularly the Bebop.
Yeah, the villain's names apparently was named Jazz and Bebop.
And Rocksteady. One of the bad guys was Rocksteady.
And Rocksteady was kind of like a
Aretha Franklin hit.
That was a Aretha Franklin hit, and it was also, I think it was like a variation of like Jamaican dance hall for a while.
Yeah, it's a version of.
So like all the villains were basically named after black
Dude, I never even, I'm telling you, I was ready to slap this whole thing down, and I'm fucking blown away right now.
So I was like, are you, and I never watched the show. I never, only when my nephews want me to buy something, like,
No, I understand. You're a grown man. You're not going to sit down and watch that.
And I'm like, are you kidding? And then I start to think about it. I was like, maybe there's something to it.
I'm with you. I'm fucking with you and your boys.
Well, from what I can remember, Bebop was a warthog and Rocksteady was a rhino-type mutant monster. And they were the ones to fight the,
Now,
I guess, Eurocentric turtles.
Yeah, just remember this. All this shit was written by, like, middle-aged white dudes. You know what I mean? Like, you can't blame the kids for this. Obviously, you can't blame the turtles. I mean, they were just hired actors. But somebody behind this was setting things up that the jazz age, the Negro tribal music that had so many white churches panicking, is still a bit of trouble for the European people. And European, that is like the new thing. Like, Western European is like pro-white, right? Like, that wasn't used when I was younger. No one talked about, we come from a Western European, Judeo-Christian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all new stuff. Earl, you got to fucking write one of your famous op-eds. You got to get that out there.
Take them down.
Vito's staying very quiet. I have a feeling you were a Ninja Turtle boy.
I fucking love the Ninja Turtles. I grew up not only on the cartoon, the live action movies. I even went to see the most recent movie a few years ago in 4D.
And none of this dawned on you.
No, I mean, it's just the name. It's just Bebop and Rocksteady.
That
were just villain
what?
names. There's just nothing to do with racism.
That's the kind of closed-mindedness, right, that keeps you from being woke. Well, let me tell you something.
I'm wide woke.
Look, when I was fucking younger, there was plenty of things I loved. Brer Rabbit, for one. The whole Song of the South. Now, there wasn't racism in my little fucking head. But as soon as people pointed it out, I'm like, holy shit. I didn't even, I didn't consider that could hurt some people. So this is why you're unwoke and why you're still groping women. Because you're not
the groping of women.
You're not open to this new fantastic idea that Earl and his crew came at us with.
They're green.
Yes, they're green.
There's no green.
There's always things behind. Okay,
it's an allegory,
right? Metaphor is the easiest way to get something into your head without. Jesus taught in parables. He didn't say do this. He laid a parable on everybody. And then they figured it out. Well, thank God. Earl and this fucking race monitoring crew, I kind of see them in some kind of like really cool lair.
Okay.
And there's all kinds of big computers and they're picking up these dog whistles all over.
There are some racist cartoons, but not the Ninja Turtles. Like, there's been other cartoons that come out that seemed a little offensive, but Ninja Turtles are just a wholesome.
Subtlety is what gets to you. It's what gets to you. And this thing that you've been doing lately, wearing the winter sleeping cap.
Yeah.
It just goes, and he's got all different kinds of them.
I ordered 6 of them on Amazon. They come in packs of 2.
The top of his head looks like the top of a condom. I mean, this looks like the fucking reservoir.
This one,
if you got 6 of them, you're giving us each one so we can look like a fucking team. All right?
I got red, gray, black.
Get a smaller one for Gail when she comes back. And get one for the baby.
Okay. Yeah, come on.
That baby's so cute. All right, so Earl, you are on to something, and I appreciate it. And so far, Earl is winning the producer of the day.
God damn it.
The producer of the day. And that person gets to walk me to the elevator and get one-on-one time with me.
I really need some one-on-one time with you today.
Yeah, that's why I hope for sure. What you need is what I don't want it. Because you never say, what should I do? You say, I fucked up.
A lot of times that does happen.
I went through this water so fucking fast today.
We'll get you some more water then.
I'm going to say something right now. This October is as fucking warm as any October I ever remember.
Indian summer, Ron.
No, you can't have Indian summer unless you have a frost first. This is something that people make a mistake of. So what happens is you're going along, you have an early frost like the frost that killed wildfire. I don't even want to get into that or I'll start fucking getting misty about it. So you have the frost, and then it goes back to being warm. That's an Indian summer.
I always thought that if October was warm, no matter what, that's just called Indian summer.
Well, then why wouldn't we just call it October? It has to mean something. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, and check with your crew on this, that Indian summer is an incredibly racist name. Because you know what word it has in it.
My parents taught me that.
Your parents taught you a lot of shit. Your dad told you how to tie off. I hope you fucking skipped that lesson. There's nothing I hate more than when a grown man brings up what his dad told him when he was 5. Like, you gotta move on. Your dad was a dude. Your dad was no different than me and you. You just didn't realize it at the time.
That's a great fucking point. When I got the talk...
That's adulthood, by the way. That's when you get to adulthood, when you realize your parents were people. They weren't evil. And they weren't heroes. They were just normal people. Now, Vito, you, since your dad died young, you're never going to get to that point.
I have no advice to tell you that my father gave me as a child.
Yeah, but you still have Hero Angel as your dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, your dad, in your mind, could never make a mistake other than leaving you from this earth. But that's what happens when your dad dies young. Earl rejected everything his parents said and bought a zip gun and started to run around with a gang. Do you know how many people that I know in the comedy world that have told me that they used to be Crips? It's very surprising to me.
Wow.
And what I would consider regular folks, you know what I mean? You know, working a career, and they would go, no, when I was younger, I was a Crip.
Specifically a Crip, not a Blood.
I don't think I've met any Bloods. Quite a few Crip walkers.
That's surprising. There's not once a Crip, always a Crip.
I don't know how it all works, Chris. I know I don't believe the fake news when it comes to a lot of this. Maybe they got beat out. Maybe they weren't in the main.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that aren't in the center of the Crip world.
Like Crip affiliated.
I'm not comfortable with you taking me further into stuff. I just pointed something out. I thought we would keep going. I didn't know I'm in a 60 Minutes episode. I'm sweating up a storm here. I'm trying to take off my lavalier mic and say this is over.
I always thought, for years, though, it was Crypt and not Crip. Like the Crips. Like fucking the Crypt.
Let me think if I care about that.
Yes?
No.
Oh, shit.
Thanks, buddy. Fucking interns are on top of it this year. And we've had some shitty intern classes like that last one.
Yeah.
But this one?
Top of the world.
No, it's a little high, Chris. I'll just say high up in the world.
Okay.
You were going to tell us something before you started fucking bombarding me with questions.
All right. I apologize, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, my dad gave me the talk when I was like, I don't know. I think it was a 17 or 18 or something.
What was that? Not the rat?
It was, he taught me that way before then.
Yeah.
He really hated rats. He was like, Jewish girls love cock, and then gave me some condoms. Like that. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for the fucking advice.
There was nothing that was wrong about that.
It's accurate.
The odd thing is you never use a condom.
No, never.
Have you ever?
Like a couple of times, maybe like when I first started having sex, but no, since then, no, I don't use any condoms.
Yeah.
No prophylactics.
No, do you have the dude use a condom or you don't? You refuse?
I don't sleep with dudes.
All right, let's not act like it's a terrible thing, Chris. Get a little woke.
I apologize. I don't think it's a terrible thing. I just want to let everyone know I don't sleep with dudes.
Just by going out of your way to point that out.
It's bad. It sounds
terrible.
bad.
Yeah, you shouldn't even react to it like Vito does.
Yeah.
With his fucking nappy cap.
Do you sleep with dudes?
Who knows?
See, that's so cool. That's why Vito's so cool. Racist, cartoon racist. Yes, Earl. I agree with you 100%. Wasn't there another thing that helped the turtles? Like
Casey.
Who was he?
He was the guy that wore the hockey mask.
Yeah.
What do you think-
Hockey. What is that?
That's a
white man sport. Okay? White man sport.
And there was Splinter, their master or whatever, sensei rather, the sensei. He was like a giant mutated rat who taught them kung fu. It's fucking cartoon.
How did this shit get fucking popular? It's so stupid.
It was like a weird comic book beforehand, and someone just optioned it for a cartoon, and it became
It was a dark
huge.
comic,
Let's see if we all don't know that. No, all of us have read fucking everything about pop culture.
I was just throwing a fun fact out there.
You know, there was once another Beatle. His name was Pete Best. And they got rid of him right before the trip to the States. Stop trying to think that you could come in here with a gum wrapper fucking thing and have us all like you and start picking you up and carrying you around the studio.
Really hoping for that. I need that.
So that was your big story. Your dad.
My dad giving me odd advice.
I hate to go to Vito then, but you leave me no fucking choice.
Okay.
I just found
Do
out.
you sleep in that fucking nightcap?
No, I actually, as a kid, I fucking loved the idea of a nightcap because the Sleepy's mascot had one, and was dying for one of those just long bed things.
And then your head sweated out.
Yeah, and then I would wear them and wake up just drenched in water. And
Yeah. That's why they say if you're freezing, get a fucking cap. Now, other people don't fucking believe this now. Science is saying it's not true. But I think a good tight cap and warm socks, and you're pretty good for the winter. I don't care what anybody says.
The feet are always...
Feet and head.
Feet and head.
Yeah,
always
That's
definitely.
the heat will leave either way. That's the way I was taught. Although I can't sleep with socks on. That's fucking disgusting to me. That's like sleeping with a condom on. I think your dad would agree with that. It's like after you're with the Jewish girl, take that fucking rascal off, tie it off, and then fucking throw it at the wall.
I passed out before with my socks and shoes on, and have come to, and it's just
Disgusting.
It's just like soggy feet.
By the way, you know the only people who've done that are alcoholics. There's not a single straight person who hasn't kicked. To me, this was one of the most disgusting things. Fucking waking up, sitting up in a chair
That's
with
bad.
clothes on. And you're like, what kind of filthy fucking drunk are you?
I woke up once with I couldn't get my shoes off. I blacked out. Couldn't get my shoes off, and then came to with just my pants around my ankles, and just like,
Is your ass bleeding?
No, that's I can
did, Earl?
remember.
See what I did to him? Look at Vito's just sitting pursed because he has something to add and take us into your world. Go ahead, Vito. Take us out of this.
I just found out that my mom lied to me my whole life about bleach.
Hold on. Let's see if we can guess where this came from. Bleach. I think she probably told you to drink it.
So somebody spilled bleach recently, and I freaked out because as a kid, my mom told me if you fucking touched bleach, it would just burn through your skin.
Well, that's a good thing to tell a little kid. Like, you don't want him splashing around in bleach.
It wasn't for that reason. It was just because when she would clean the floor,
Yeah.
it was slippery, and she thought I'd fall.
Well,
and
she was
just
right about that,
break my
too.
head. So for years, I just went around thinking that bleach was this thing that if it touched you, you're just fucked, and it would like acid burn your skin.
For how many years? How old were you?
Last week.
But you know that she told you this to protect you.
Yeah, I know she told me to protect me, but there's a point where you just like, because she didn't drop it at all. Like, even until I'd be like 14, 15,
You're
she'd be like,
still pretty clumsy.
I am still pretty clumsy, but she still would be like, hey, I'm bleaching the floor. So, don't. Oh, and it wasn't just to clean.
Yeah.
Sometimes she'd lie because she liked to just have her own time in the living room. So she would just say she bleached the floor so I just wouldn't come out there.
I can't imagine how annoying you were. But I've read studies on this, and no one lies more than Italian moms. They're the number one lying creature in the history of the world.
The shit that I found out I was lied to about my whole life. I was told I was allergic to shrimp for most of my life. I was told I was allergic to shrimp.
It's expensive, and you're eating boatloads of it.
I didn't find out until I went to dinner, and somebody was like, have this. And I was like, I can't. I'm definitely allergic to shrimp. They were like, I don't think you are. I've seen you eat something that had shrimp in it and not realize.
Wait, what would you eat that had shrimp in it?
Just like an egg roll and not realizing there was shrimp in the egg roll. And then
How do you not know what's in your egg roll?
so then I have the shrimp and I feel great. And then the next week, I love it. I actually find out I love shrimp.
Yeah, who doesn't?
I go to my mom's apartment. I wasn't living at home. Go to see my mom, and I'm like, hey, do you know I'm not allergic to shrimp? She goes, yes, so? And I was like, you told me for years I was allergic to shrimp. She goes, oh, yeah, I just didn't want to cook it. It smells bad.
And she's right about that. I mean, it's not a good smell. And you're also down at the docks waiting for the nets to open. So you can
But then I just went crazy eating shrimp for like 2 months. Just every meal I'd just be ordering.
slow it down, dude. Slow it the fuck down. It just eats shrimp like a person.
No.
That's why she did not want to tell you that shrimp was good.
Oh, everything. Fried shrimp, grilled shrimp. I was just going crazy. But yeah, Italian mothers lie a lot.
Yeah, they do. They can't help it. That's their thing.
I had a recycling like drilled in my head that you have to recycle so bad, like in school and with my parents too, that as a kid, I thought that if I dropped like a candy wrapper on the ground in the street, that the world would fucking come to an end. Where I had so much anxiety that I could never.
So you got that from school?
Yeah. Then looking back at it would have been fine. It would have been kind of shitty.
When I was a kid, they started really pushing the pollution stuff because we were like crazy polluted. And my fucking elementary school was in the middle of an oil refinery. And there were days that we couldn't go out because of stink. Like it would stink so bad. And it wasn't, by the way, just oil refineries. There was all kinds of refineries there. It was Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania. And you know how they have the torch, it'll do the burn off?
Yeah.
Some days it would just be explosive, right? So the fucking teacher is trying to like teach us something, and your kid's just like, oh, we're looking at the fucking flame, just loving it. So she made a big deal about pulling down the fucking those big ugly old. They're not even curtains. Where are they when you fucking pull down the things that are so?
Oh, the blinds.
Yeah, but they're not blinds. They're like a big old fucking
grate.
Great. What are you talking about? Do you think I was in
like
prison? What are you talking about? A grate?
Are they metal?
No, they're not metal.
Okay.
Why would there be
It means
metal?
like a storefront.
Yeah, it's more of a shade.
Okay, all
but
right.
they were old. No one ever pulled down those old fucking shades. You know, I was in like an old school, an old shitty fucking school. You just see her bringing down these fucking shades that I guess were once tan and now they're like orange and fucking brown. It would take forever just so we couldn't look at a giant flame. That, believe me, if we were doing this now, we'd be looking out the window even as adults. So they were really obsessed with that, and they were always like, I remember in like 5th grade, we were supposed to come up with stuff that would save the earth, you know?
Okay.
We were supposed to like write these reports about filtering water and fucking underground whatever. It was fucking a lot of pressure on a kid.
Yeah, I felt it. I was like, if I litter at all, the world's gonna end.
I wrote up this thing for a nice dome city that
That's
when
cool.
it rained on it, it was supposed to all run down and then become our drinking water. And I look at that now, I'm like, what the fuck would anybody want to live under a glass jar for? I'm fucking, I go, how hot is it going to be in that fucking place? No wind. And I'm acting like I'm fucking helping the earth. What do we got? Giant fucking air conditioners? I should have got an F and slapped. I should have been fucking slapped for this thing.
Would have wiped out the human race.
And who doesn't get inside the dome? The fucking poor people.
They're just getting rained on, looking like shit.
Bebop, jazz, that whole crew. I'm so disgusted for you for enjoying that racist cartoon.
I even love. Earl, what do you think about the racist Transformers thing? Because I still watch Transformers.
Wait, why are Transformers racist?
There were these two. The one was named Jazz as well, but he was a good guy. But he had a gold tooth, and he spoke with like a black voice.
He talked jive. I remember this now. In the first Michael Bay Transformers movie, there was a jive talking robot called Jazz.
Here's the thing: there hasn't been jive talking since the 70s, and I remember when. We were watching something with Robin Williams, and he was doing that. Hey, baby, and like my kids were like, "What? What is he doing? What is he? He thinks he's talking black." And they're going like, "Black people don't talk like that." And I go like this. They used to, at least on TV.
Question mark.
Yeah, because I don't know now. You know what I mean? Like I know every movie had that, but did I ever run into anybody that was like, "Hey, baby," but every detective had a black pimp that he would drive up on. Hey, babies.
Huggy Bear.
Yeah, all those fuckers, man. Which, by the way, I thought were incredibly cool.
That's how my dad would talk to black people. He would start talking jive to them. Or if it was a Spanish person, he'd throw in Spanish words here and there. He was the worst.
Well, that was his relatable way. I mean, the man was just attached to every human being.
I have a friend's dad who would talk. If somebody had an accent, he thought it would be easier for them to understand him if he spoke in their accent.
Yeah, people do that all the time. But you ever watch Kelly Ripa?
Yeah.
And she had on the girl from Night School, this comic.
Tiffany Haddish?
Yeah, so she has Tiffany Haddish on. Go back and fucking watch, like, was it two of them? Because she starts really talking, I know, I guess so. You know what I mean? Little Kelly Ripa. I swear to God, I was watching on TV and I'm like, this is so uncomfortable. I'm turning this shit off. That's just fucking something we do, Earl. Do not throw that in with the Ninja Turtles. That's us trying to connect.
Anyway.
Even if it's bad?
Yeah, especially if it's bad. Don't embarrass people by pointing things out. This fucking cold DeVitos that won't go away. You notice it came in with those fucking nappy fucking sacks he wears on his head?
I'm sure it was whoever made them, coughed in them, and sent them to him.
I don't think so.
Where'd you get them at, Vito?
Amazon.com. I order everything on Amazon.
Well, why is this your look now?
Baseball caps don't keep you warm, and I'm kind of...
It's fucking 80 today, dude. It's 80 degrees. So this is style and style only.
And headbands aren't really working for me anymore. Yeah, it's style. It's like, I wanted my own new look. I thought, what about...
You saw someone else do it. Who was it?
No, I really didn't.
Kanye?
No, Kanye doesn't wear skull caps. He wears MAGA hats now.
Gambino? Was it Gambino?
No, Gambino doesn't wear hats. This is my own thing.
You're stylish, Gambino. That's your fucking new name.
Oh, I'm going to write that down for me.
And why run down fucking baseball caps when Earl's rocking his?
Sorry, there's not warm enough for me.
They're not warm. They're
It's
warm.
a hot fucking day, dude.
It's winter to me.
You're just making that up because you want people to think you look cool. You look like you're trying too hard.
I just wanted this. It just keeps... Okay, Ron, if I'm going to be very honest with you about the hats, it's just because I sweat a lot.
But that's going to make you sweat more.
I know, but the headbands don't keep the sweat in enough. The hats get destroyed by sweat. These things...
Take the cap off. Let's see here. Oh, my God. Greasy.
Ew.
It's time to shave the head down.
Oh, I think the new year is going.
You said that you were going to sell this grease hair to fucking
Crisco.
I'm not going to sell it to them.
Yes, I have almost 4 inches of grease hair. Would you like to give it to a bad kid that you're mad at? By the way, they make wigs out of you. It's kind of disgusting to me.
It is weird.
Did you see the documentary, the Good Hair documentary, where they show you where they get the hair from?
No, I'm not going to watch documentaries like that.
Is it dead people?
I can't watch anything with sick kids in it. It makes me sad. I like to just walk by them, like I do with the homeless. I saw a homeless guy asking for money and he had a bad dog on a chain. Fucking people were giving him fucking dollar bills. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that always helps with the homeless gimmicks. There's a lot of them around the library here in the city.
Yeah, but a lot of people will have that sick dog and people will come over and feel sorry for the dog. This guy had a fucking mean dog on a chain. I'm like, shit, he's going to let go of that dog.
Cool gimmick.
There was the fucking fear of dogs is so high that it's like number 4 on the top 10 fears. 4.
Yeah, I have a bad relationship with dogs.
You don't have a bad relationship with dogs. You're afraid of them for no reason.
I will say, I'll walk up to pet them. I will go up to, and they just snap away. They bark.
They've been trained to guard against
every single time, no matter how
little and sweet.
Yeah, no matter how good the
that's your
intentions
soul, dude. That's your fucking soul.
The only time is if I feed them. If I have food, the second the food is on,
what are you doing? Eating dog food?
No.
What are you doing with your food? No, you keeping sausages in your pocket? What do you fucking have to give a dog?
But when I know someone who has a dog, and I'm like I was trying to back
Here's some
off.
sweet tarts.
And they go like, try feeding them. That always helps. And I'm like, that always kind of break the ice, and that never does, ever.
I don't feed somebody else's dog. It'll follow you home.
I think you abuse these dogs. You're just not telling us.
What do you do? Kick them?
No, I don't kick
them. Up a dog's ass. That's my pleasure. How did fucking Trump get elected? Not fucking Tim Witherspoon. That's what I don't understand.
Bullshit.
Is that his name? Tim?
John Witherspoon was a boxer.
That's great. Well, same thing. You know what I mean? Same thing. What do we got coming up later, Chris?
We have your appearance on Dean Del Rey's podcast, Let There Be Talk.
Controversial. You might not like this one, Earl. It's where we get into how Western civilization is the only thing that's ever really helped this planet. And all the different things that we invented.
Sounds exciting.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
that. Wait a minute. That's not. No.
Oh, what are we going to get into? The fucking peanut again?
No, not the peanut.
What? Cotton gin? Was that guy fucking black? Or is that just me being racist by thinking of cotton?
Cotton gin,
Isn't that weird? Like, it's one of the few things that we remember from school is Eli Whitney. Now, think of who invented the washing machine. I don't fucking know. Why do we know all? Everybody knows Eli Whitney. Fucking racism, Vito. The kind of racism that you're turning a blind eye to and a sweaty head.
Maybe it's the name. It's such a memorable name.
I don't know, but I feel like I spent some time hearing about this fucking guy. How great it was. How great their art.
It's because we're so obsessed with the Civil War. They haven't played a big part in it, I believe.
No, nothing.
Oh, really? None whatsoever. Well,
No.
I'm totally
You think
off.
we were fighting over cotton gins? But just think of who invented the microwave. I don't know. I don't fucking know almost anything in the world but a cotton gin, which I've never even seen one in my life. Eli Whitney all over it. And we are getting so woke on this show. Thank you, Earl. I mean, everybody but Vito is really advancing the new age and all part of it.
I'm going to go watch Ninja Turtles tonight.
Oh, no.
Vito, I saw a fucking thing. It's a movie online. Sebastian Maniscalco was in it as a fucking mob guy, but it made young Italians look like nothing but trouble, nothing but stealing, thieving, fucking dude bros. I can't. I mean, it's out now. I don't know whether it's based on the 80s or something, but it's like a nice girl falls in with an Italian dude.
Oh, is the girl Emily Ratajkowski?
That's right.
I saw the trailer for it. It's definitely the 80s.
Yeah, but it's so like it makes Italians look like fucking.
Yeah, it looked like just trash people and her.
Yeah,
in the trailer from what I saw.
And she seems a little old to be so naive, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're stealing cars. They're fucking.
Yeah, still a lot of car radios.
Robbing shit. Oh, you're in love with her, right?
Oh, I love Emily Ratajkowski.
And she comes in here.
I know. I saw her doing the Fat Jewishes show.
Oh, let's not call people names, Chris. Let's do this.
Prefers that. That's his brand.
Well, I don't think that you're supposed to call him that.
Hey, I'm fat. I could say it. I could call it fat.
Oh,
Jewish.
I'm not worried about the fat part.
I'm also 20% Jew, so I got both. I'm fine with this.
You think he's way less then. All right. Let's break back Bennington. Hey, it's the Bennington show. I'll be at that Newtown Theater this weekend. You can see on our Twitter how to go there, or just go to the Newtown Theater.
The newtowntheater.com for tickets. That's
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Hey, a little later on in the show, we asked Dean Del Rey if we could do this. He runs a big podcast, Chris.
Let there be talk.
And I had a lot of fun with him. He's actually more obsessed with music than me or Earl, I believe.
Yeah, that was the first time I heard it, I was like, man, this guy he's seen a lot and done a lot. And
probably too much, if I'm going to be totally honest. So for first responders, that's at Dean Del Rey, at Dean Del Rey. That's coming up in, what are we doing at about an hour, Chris, or a half an hour?
About a half hour. That's going to come up.
I never know what our schedule is. I'm going to be honest with you here.
Yeah.
I just kind of move along from one thing to the next without. I think if I looked at how many things that I have coming up, I would probably just quit. So because of that, I just walk around like Mr. Magoo and like, oh, you're going to be going over here and talking about this. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. But this was a lot of fun with Dean Del Rey. And for first responders, that's at Dean Del Rey.
Also, coming up on Tuesday is Unmasked with Ellie Kemper. That's happening Tuesday, October 9th, 11:30 a.m. at the SiriusXM studios. Go to theinterrobang.com for a chance at free tickets.
Now, Chris, you were saying that that our own Earl dabbles in numerology, and I go, save it for the air. I didn't know that you were with the devil's numbers, Earl.
No, I don't dabble in numerology.
So Vito and I are sitting in the office, and Earl comes in.
Fucked up.
Just whacked out. And then Earl comes in and says, hey, did you guys ever hear about this? If you add your age to the year you were born, it always comes out to 2018.
Well, let me start by saying
No
I saw
shit,
something stupid and weird, because there was a meme that everyone seems to be passing around. You left that part out.
Earl, it's this year.
Yeah.
And then next year it'll come to 2019.
Ron, he didn't know. He came in like he had a fun fact
It was
about
not a
numerology.
Fun fact.
He said the devil's in the calendars.
I said it was stupid and weird.
No, he didn't.
I said weird. I remember leading.
Why
with
are
weird
you
and stupid.
setting him up? Is this bullying?
No.
This isn't bullying. I just want to expose Earl. That's not a numerology fact. That's just math.
I didn't say it was numerology. I don't know nothing about numerology.
Oh my God! Do you understand how much that sounds like? I don't know nothing about birth and no babies. That sounds exactly the same.
I am not. I never professed to be a numerologist.
Do you know about birth and no babies?
He came in so excited to tell us.
I
And
was
he had a
not
smile on
excited.
his
I walked
Yes, you
in
were.
the room like I always do.
It sounds like you're bullying him
It sounds like
for
Earl's
being different.
Earl's likes revisionist history. And he realized he did something stupid and then tried to backtrack.
But why are you attacking? Why wouldn't you say it in a amusing, fun, easy way? Instead, it's like you're trying to point at Earl because he's bald-headed and make him feel like he's different than the rest of us. You're not, Earl. You're just hairless.
Yes, and I choose to be.
Can I just ask you this? Does the carpet match the drapes, Earl? Does the carpet match the drapes? Hardwood floor?
No.
In other words, do you shave your nutsack?
No. That
Too
would be
scary?
Too painful. Probably more than anything else.
Well, people do it,
I know. I know enough people who, and I don't.
Do you know a lot of people that if they add their age to the year that they were born, it would end up to 2018?
I was pointing out how stupid.
Do not trust these guys. They're two big bullies, both physically and mentally.
No, I don't see Chris as the bullying type.
He is.
Yeah, I'm bullying you right now.
He's a bully.
And I always saw Vito as someone who would be bullied.
Whoa.
Well, maybe that's true, but he also looks like a lumberjack today. A French lumberjack.
It's skull hat winter.
You still haven't kicked your cold yet?
No, it's gotten worse.
It's almost 2 weeks.
It's gotten worse than anything, and I just am completely drowsy and dizzy all day.
That's called the AIDS virus. my
No.
friend. You have a virus that is spread sexually.
The last time I shaved my balls,
My God. Why would you even say that?
I cut them.
Oh,
And
Why would you even want to do it? Here's why you can't find your fucking balls. What makes you think they could shave them?
so I cut them, and then a cyst formed, and it freaked me out. And I had to go to a dermatologist to be like, "What's on my balls?"
Who demanded that you shave your nuts?
Oh, it was my ex-girlfriend. Like, trim that down there, and I was like, "Okay." And then I did, and then that happened. And I had
Did you hold it over her?
yeah, I did. Yeah, guess what?
Was she completely shaved?
She was bare,
Like Earl.
just like Earl.
bear.
And Earl, you are not bald by choice.
I am completely bald by choice. I am balding.
Well, you could have the side of your fucking hair, yeah.
Just do that.
I'm
Grow that out.
balding.
No one has ever bald on the sides. That would be fucking great and totally acceptable. Nobody would mind it.
Just have patch of hair running through you. Ugh.
What?
No, just like never mind.
What is he talking about?
I think he's talking about having a fuckboy haircut.
Okay.
Oh,
What do you mean by FB?
It's like a guy who's like a dick, but he has like Macklemore. Remember Macklemore?
Nope.
It's like the Nazi haircut, where it's
Okay,
just like
now you're talking my language.
the long hair down the middle and the shaved sides.
Yeah.
That's the fuckboy haircut. It's
But
got.
why do they call it fuckboy?
Because fuckboys tend to have this haircut.
First of all, stop everything, okay?
Yeah.
Instead of being stupid,
Yeah.
explain exactly what a fuckboy is. Is it a boy people have sex with?
Yes, it's a guy who like gets around and like is a player. I guess that's the best
okay.
way.
So he's not the object. He's not a bottom.
No,
See, I would never put anybody that was a top with the name boy.
yeah, it's very strange. It's
I
like
think I'm going to quote Mr. Bruce Springsteen. Mr. I ain't a boy, I'm a man, and I believe in the promised land. Was that done correctly, Vito? I know you're a big Bruce Springsteen fan.
I believe it was done correctly.
Believe. I hate when someone's not definitive. Earl, what are you typing right now?
I was punching up the haircut in question.
Oh, okay.
Earl, it's spelled with 2 C's, and boy is spelled O-I.
What?
It's fuckboy, F-U-C-C-B-O-I.
See, this is too effeminate to be a top.
It's the reason it's like fuck boy is because like they're immature, they act like children, they play games.
This guy here doesn't look like that he could get women. Just the exact opposite.
He just has the haircut. He's not actually a fuck boy.
Okay. Well, let's see an actual one.
Earl, type in F-U-C-C-B-O-I.
Boy.
All that showed up was Macklemore.
Take off haircut, Earl.
And now there's women on there.
Earl, delete hair.
Earl, you haven't made this go easier. You've made it go worse.
Earl's coming off like a fuckboy.
If this were now, why would that be a bad thing?
It's a bad like it's used as a negative connotation. It's used as an insult.
Why if the guy's the top?
I guess because he uses women, and he's like he doesn't like date anyone. He just breaks women's hearts.
It's like douchebag. It's like tool bag. Fuck boy.
Yeah, but this has been the new thing in the last 5 years or so. I don't know how it happened. It's the internet. Also, kids also say sus now instead of suspect, and it's really weird.
I don't see the tie-in.
I'm just saying new slang.
If something's 5 years old, it's not new.
I have all the new
I'm
slang.
still using this term. I'm going to get jiggy with it. And that means I'm really going to start my little dance craze up. Earl said to me the other day, what's the haps?
Bringing it back, Earl. You didn't have any numbers facts for you?
You're still going with that, are you, bully boy? I think that you would have been, if you didn't come in so hot, you would have had an amusing story we all could have enjoyed together. Now, here's the thing that I'm looking into. People are saying to me, a fuck boy is a pretty boy, shallow, not worth your time for anything but a fuck. So the way that I would look at that is he's somewhat of a bottom. Not the way that Chris explained to me that he gets women, that women think, oh, I'll have sex with this guy and move on because he's nothing to be serious about. He's merely a fuck boy, B-O-I. Earl, quick numerology for you. If you take the year, subtract it by 10, it's always a decade ago.
I'm going to pass that around to friends.
Please do. Oh, take your birthday, add 365, and you will be 1 year older.
That doesn't seem possible.
Why do I still have like a Teddy Roosevelt mouse pad? Why? What? At what point did that come up? And then we all thought it was so funny that we could keep it going.
Well, that replaced the black doctor who ran for president.
Ben Carson.
Oh my God! Why can't you just say doctor that ran for president?
I was trying to
You're
narrow.
a fucking racist, dude.
Bully, racist. What, are we going for the hat trick now?
Let me say this, and this is interesting. All racists are bullies, but not all bullies are racist. Discuss.
I'm not a racist. I just want to narrow it down so we can figure out the
The fact
guy's
that you
name.
are producing this New York Comedy Festival thing for me, where the that's offensive, the changing sensitivity. You're the worst person to do this because you're not sensitive to any of the issues.
I'm not. No, I'm actually. I'm just offensive, is what my thing is.
And yet, you are normally in the center of a beatdown.
It's weird. It doesn't make any sense, but that's how I'm living my life.
Chris, your mic is cutting in and out. You might have to switch mic.
Thank you, Earl.
You just cut out again.
Why not put on a fucking headphone since you are a producer? What a fuck boy. All right, this was sent to me. Tell Chris he is nothing but meaty side tits. Why doesn't he shave his fucking nuts again?
I'm not doing it again, Ron. I'm not getting another cyst.
How about just not fucking going in 2 inches too deep? What are you doing starting down trying to get to the actual gonad? It's a very, very busy busy week for us. But this Monday's Unmasked should be enjoyable, huh, Chris?
Oh, yes, it will. It'll be Ellie Kemper, Unmasked. She has her new book out, and that's happening at 11:30 a.m. here at the SiriusXM studios. You go to theinterrobang.com for a chance of tickets.
But we implore you to get on Chris's VIP because we will give those people kind of win them before you buy them opportunities.
And that you get on that list by going to benningtonshow.com, and then in a few moments a pop-up will happen, and then you put your information in there, and then you're on the list. benningtonshow.com.
Seems like that's too long to explain to anybody.
Go to Bennington Show. There's a pop-up. Put your information
Bennington
there.
Show.
benningtonshow.com.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Vito, what's on your AIDS-infested mind? I'm sorry that you're so sick lately.
It's just
and thank you for staying away from me and the other members of the show. And thank you for layer dressing so we all remember that you've got a terrible cold.
I just wanted to keep in the sweat and the chills.
Nice and loud, son, like you're a big boy.
Okay. What is the worst kind of small injury that a person can get?
Okay.
So
I'll just say have one of your small arteries torn out of your heart.
No, that's a major one.
Or a pin stuck into your brain.
That's major. That's major.
So apparently you have something that you want to say, and yet when you ask us, if we give you that, you tell us no. This is my worst kind of questions. When somebody will say like, hey, what's the worst thing that you've ever found in your food? And you're like, I don't know. And all they're saying is, can I tell you the worst thing I've ever found in my food? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not asking a question. He wants to tell us something that he's holding on to near and dear. Vito, the other night when I had you on the phone, you were very short answering me. And I didn't know whether you were mad at me or Chris. We were in a three-way dance. Do you feel like I was being too hard on you or Chris threw you under the bus?
It had nothing to do with you. I felt Chris threw me under the bus a little, but I was really just sick and tired, and I just was...
Of me?
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?
I'm sick and tired.
I told you didn't have to be part of that.
But I wanted to because I don't want to be.
I never want somebody in a meeting who doesn't want to be at the meeting.
I wanted to be in the meeting, but
then why, when I was telling you stuff, was I just getting one-word answers, and at a time that we didn't need just one-word answers?
Well, one thing that was said is something I brought up a week ago that Chris decided to bring up on the phone call that bothered me. And then I just had nothing else to say.
He stole an idea from you?
The thing about what we want to say when we go into a meeting was something I said to him last week.
Look, here's what you have to understand about Chris. He steals just ideas, but he does to me, he tries to tell me what he thinks I want to hear rather than telling me the truth. So he's repeating back to me quickly the things I've said, even though he doesn't plan on doing it. And I guess he was doing that with you as well. He's also doing his head is too big for headphones. And look, his eye is being pulled up because he can't get his entire headphones around.
Very tight, Ron.
Chris, wherever you go, you're causing this strange storm of doom.
I want to be the eye of the storm.
Were you, is that why you're pulling your eye up with your headphones? Were you aware that you stole something from him, an idea for him, and that made him pissy during the rest of the phone meeting?
I had no idea. I mean, Vito could have spoken up some more. I mean,
what was I supposed to say in the middle of a phone call? Go, hey, Chris, isn't that what I said to you last week?
I think that would be helpful.
Just have a big fucking fight.
Because that I would understand and go, oh, yeah, that does get aggravating. Chris, can you stop doing that?
And he jumped in right away, and I was actually about to speak as he brought that thing up. And it just pissed me off for the rest of the phone call.
Well, I was the one who connected the three-way phone call, so I thought I'd take...
Instead of joking about this,
yes,
please, let's try to move the business of the Bennington Show forward.
Okay.
And you're being told that if he comes up with an idea, he just wants credit for that idea, Chris. He doesn't want you to steal it from him. And it's just me. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not like this is going to get anybody a medal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It could be just as easy to say, Vito, you had something you wanted to say. Or if you would have said, as Vito said the other day, then Vito would feel acknowledged.
Going forward.
So you realize that you did steal something.
I don't think I stole anything. I don't remember that conversation.
Then how going forward are you going to do that? That's you just trying to tell me what I want to hear again.
If I say something to you in a room and then you say, oh, that's not a terrible idea, so you heard it, You understood what I said, and then you retake what I said and say it to somebody else.
I don't remember hearing that initially, but if Vito feels that way, then we need to talk to each other more.
Well, the thing is, you're trying to act like you're a person now instead of the kind of fucking pirate that you obviously are. And literally, he was in Pittsburgh. So he's a Pittsburgh pirate. But you're not going to catch that if you don't even realize that you feel comfortable enough to steal. Let me tell you something. When I was a little kid, a fucking kid stole my bike. And it was a bike that had a flat tire that was just sitting in my backyard. So he fixed it, right? He put some fucking house paint on it and went running it by my house. And all I could think of, does he really think I won't recognize this bike? And I really didn't even want it anymore because obviously I didn't fix the flat. But I was like, give me that fucking bike back right now. I'll fucking kill you.
It's the principle of the thing.
Yeah, it's the principle. I wouldn't have cared if I saw him taking trash out of my fucking trash can. But you don't realize that stealing someone's idea is a bad thing. This is the worst part of this, Brett Kavanaugh. You don't know that you're wrong.
I know that stealing is bad. I understand that stealing is bad.
You don't feel like you took his idea.
But I don't feel like I took his idea exactly. I feel like that was just something. I think that was a
Vito, this is something that cannot be corrected then. Because if you say something in front of him and he thinks that it's his, he doesn't even realize where he got the idea from. This is something that can't be corrected. Because
you're not even consciously aware.
He's not even consciously aware. He lives as a thief, so he doesn't understand that and he has obviously no empathy for others, because he sees Vito, and yes, you, Earl, with your numerology beliefs, he sees you as less than human.
Have any numerology beliefs?
Here's the thing that I hate about the show Walking Dead, right? Because I think it sets up the whole thing that some humans aren't humans, so it makes them okay to kill, right? So that you use this zombie thing as it would mean, I don't know, Palestinian or some other so-called minority, because people who kill like that, when they kill massive amounts of people, it's easier not to think about them as people. The Nazis did not think of the Jews or gypsies and gays as people, so it made it easier to exterminate. All right, Chris, in the same way as The Walking Dead, doesn't see Vito as a human being.
No, not at all. I don't.
Are you just trying to guess?
No, I'm not trying to guess anything.
Well, then why wouldn't you say, of course I do, Ron? I see him as a human being. I just don't know why I stole from him.
I think he seems like the non-human right now. He's like Google coming up with auto responses for you, Ron.
Right. Exactly. He's like a corporate spy if the corporation was spying against itself. That makes him a brilliant corporate spy.
A double agent, would that be?
You know how I should have known it was somebody else's idea? Because you had an idea. And I should have said immediately, Chris, next time that you have an idea, I'll go, where did you steal that, Chris?
I didn't steal
So I can... You did steal
I'm
it.
not talking about the next time.
This time.
All right.
Now, if I would have said to you, where did you steal that idea from? Would you have known?
No, I wouldn't have known. I would not have known that I stole.
This is a problem we cannot correct.
If he has this, it's clearly unconscious. He's so not aware.
He's unconscious. He's so fucking drunk that he's in a constant blackout.
I'm sober right now. I'm definitely
You're
sober.
never sober. There's still enough alcohol in your system and enough damaged brain cells that it could never be considered sober. Now, the idea that he stole from you, Vito, was a dumb one. Only an idiot would have an idea like that. The only thing worse is to steal a dumb idea. Okay?
All right, I understand that part. I shouldn't steal dumb ideas.
I feel Walking Dead with you. I see you as less than a human being.
I'm definitely a person.
Then why don't fucking headphones that fit everyone
I have
fit
a
you?
large head, okay?
You know who doesn't have large heads?
Who?
Humans.
Some humans have large heads like me.
Only one that I can think of.
Yes, I have the special order hats.
And yes, the headphones are too high.
You know who else has the special order hats?
Who's that?
Horses, where they have that big sun hat that they cut the horse's ears out for. Maybe you could try that. Go to a fucking straw horse thing.
Not wearing a horse hat, okay?
A horse hat. Okay, we got a break. What's coming up next?
That's Dean Del Rey's podcast, Let There Be Talk, featuring you, Ron Bennington.
Thank you very much. It features me. This was a conversation. Dean did our show about a few weeks back. And then he said, could you do my podcast after that? I don't do a lot of podcasts, but I said, all right, if, I could work it out if we use one of the studios here. And we jumped into this thing. I thought I'd go with the GPS angle of, hey, what was the coolest scene of all time to be in? What would it be for you, Earl? What was the coolest music scene ever?
For me, downtown New York, punk rock scene.
Punk rock scene. Now, the disco scene was happening at the same time, so I don't want anybody to be picking on you, Earl. I don't know. I think that San Francisco scene was pretty cool. Obviously, there's about 4 different times in London, which would have been amazing to be. I mean, the glam rock scene, yeah, I could have been very, very happy there. Maybe I could have been myself. At Dean Del Rey for the first responders. At Dean Del Rey for the first responders. Because Dean comes from a place, he's got a huge music background. And then he also has a pretty amazing comedy background. I mean, he gets to do a lot of really cool things, and he's a really funny guy. And that's how I first got to know him. I saw him do stand up, and I thought, oh, at a certain part of my life, me and this guy would have, you know what I mean? Like, I think we're both kind of past our partying days, but we followed a certain weird path. So if you like to be a first responder for this, it's at Dean Del Rey. Do we break before we do this, Chris? Or
we are going to break.
Yeah.
There's going to be a break, and then it's going to come back with Let There Be Talk.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure I played it for you guys since we got so much feedback on this. This is Bennington.
Yeah. All right. Here we are. Another episode of Let There Be Talk. Hilarious. I'm in Sirius XM building doing my own show with a great guest. Introduce yourself, my man.
Ron Bennington. And we are in, this is Cousin Brucey's original studio. Do you know who Cousin Brucey is?
Nope.
Cousin Brucey is a legend in New York radio. He's been doing oldies since about 67. Before that, it was like the top, but it would already, by 67, that 50s and early 60s music was already the oldies. You know, that's how much music changed. But he's one of the guys at Shea Stadium. He brought the Beatles out on stage.
Oh, on that Shea Stadium concert.
Yeah, and he's still doing radio here.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. Like, what was this place before Sirius XM? A big radio place?
Well, this, he had done local New York radio for a lot of years. I'm not even sure which, one of the big stations, like
like an AM station, probably back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, big flamethrower. But could you imagine how few people have picked up on the Beatles' heat where they ever, had that opportunity to go, ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles?
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Man. That is nuts. And, they played their last concert ever in 66 at Candlestick in San Francisco. That's where I'm from, the Bay Area, and then they never play again until the rooftop concert. So it's so wild that they never played during like the Rubber Soul or Yellow Submarine or any of the psychedelic era. God, that would have been so cool to see.
Now just think, most people will put them as the greatest band of all time, and they weren't really a live band at any, any point. And I remember even seeing Mick Jagger was saying to Lennon, he goes, "Oh no, they don't just scream anymore. You ought to go back and try."
Right?
Like they're listening, they want to hear it because they were in such a
because they couldn't hear it. That's why they left, because they couldn't hear. Also, when they started, they were using those horns. The arena, the baseball park's sound system of like number 32, Babe Ruth. That's the same one. They're like, you love me, yeah. I mean,
just a PA system in a ballpark.
That's all it was. Those big horns. like clips horns,
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is, man. And it's, I remember one time, I think it was one of them on the documentary, like George Harrison or something. He just started playing like while they were playing because nobody
cared.
Nobody cared.
Yeah, little girls were just screaming.
Wow, man, that's an amazing time, Beatlemania. I'm not a '50s music guy.
Really?
No, and I'm a huge music guy. And I do love American Graffiti, and I do love Wolfman Jack, and I love radio like you do.
Yeah.
And, one of my dreams would to be, to do like, one day Howard Stern retires, and I'm the new Howard Stern, But the music never really grabbed me. I think it was just a little too safe for me. And once the 60s of Zeppelin and Stones come in, and I'm not a Beatles guy either. I love the Beatles now, but, I don't play them all the time. And The Who would be the fourth for me, out of all that. But Zeppelin would be first for me because it was dark and crazy.
Well, with Zeppelin, I'm always like, some of their music I love.
Yeah.
And then any of the wizard rock, I'm like, I'm tapping. I cannot, you know what I mean? Like like lyrics are always important to me, and I get embarrassed by a lot of people's lyrics.
Yeah.
But you and I were talking about, you said at one point you almost saw their last show in the States.
I was 1 year behind seeing it. So I saw, my whole introduction to music in the Bay Area comes from the master Bill Graham himself.
Sure.
I think Bill Graham is one of the greatest humans ever to walk the earth. If you read his book and read what he went through to where
it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And he had a vision early on of what I love about music, because you're a lot like me. I don't like just one type of music. And I don't understand people that only go like, when I was in high school, guys would be like, that ain't metal. You know, I'd be loving Prince, But Bill Graham, to me, was really the first guy that, he put together like Miles Davis, Cheech and Chong, and Alice Cooper, that kind of stuff. So he would put on these massive ballpark shows at where the Oakland A's play, called Day on the Greens, and I want to do a documentary on it. They were the greatest concerts ever. If you look at them, they went from like 73 to about 85, and I mean, they're insane. So Zeppelin's last show ever in the States was in 77 at Oakland Coliseum, and it's the one where it's the Stonehenge is the stage. And Bill would have this guy named Baron Woolman took the pictures. Another guy would paint these scrims so that it wouldn't just look like you're seeing a show at a ballpark. There'd be themes, like one was Mount Rushmore. Another one was like Boston with the ship flying in. And Zeppelin was Stonehenge. So you felt like you were at a play or something, of an event.
Yeah, that is true. And also, I mean, how much credit do you give Bill Graham for that 60s San Francisco sound? I mean, does that scene, and I love to get into conversations like, if you could time travel, what scene would you want to be at?
Right.
But San Francisco in the late 60s would have been one of the most amazing places in the world.
Yeah, you got the Dead, Starship, you have Airplane,
Janis
Joplin, you have
really young Steve Miller is playing.
Miller.
Yeah, Santana is playing there, and that thing is got everything.
Van Morrison.
Well, that was the thing. Like, the Doors would come up from LA, and nobody had that scene. But at the same time, there was another, because I'm in Detroit at almost the same time. There was a completely separate scene going on, and it was all just wrapped around one ballroom. But because it was bigger, the bands got louder, right?
Yeah,
if it wasn't the size of the venue, the MC5 probably never would have gotten as loud as they were.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
That is
when
weird.
You think about that.
Also, what you think about it was just crazy is there's no internet, there's no phone, videos or anything. So every scene is so organic because they're not seeing anything else. So they're blooming their own full-blown organic sound and scene. So each one's completely different. The MC5, that's not even close to what the Dead and Janice and all them were doing.
And it was literally the same exact times.
It's so wild.
So, you had like in Detroit, you had like Mitch Ryder was playing with them, and
Early Nugent.
Nugent when he was with the Amboy Dukes and all that.
And that stuff's kind of psychedelic acidy.
Right. Yep. And they were just trying to blow it up. They were trying to, just basically blow each other off the stage. But the fact that there wasn't an internet and they didn't know about each other kind of purified it.
Oh, that's what makes it amazing.
In a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So I think like a lot of times now, young guys would be able to go, oh, this is happening. I just saw it on YouTube. Let's try to. And all of a sudden, you don't. Maybe a lot of guys go too early with it. You know?
Real generic.
Yeah.
You know? It's funny you say that, too, because even when I had Scott Ian from Anthrax on the podcast, and, if that early thrash metal scene that was happening in San Francisco, which is the next scene to happen in San Francisco, Anthrax was on the East Coast, and I asked him, I go, how were you picking up on the scene? This is pre-internet again, 80, in the early 80s. And he said tape trading.
Right,
so cassettes were floating around all the way across country. Kids would go visit families in the Bay Area and vice versa. And this is a big in our area. Here, check it out. And that's pretty organic too, because you're hearing something, but you're not getting the full picture.
Right.
So you're taking what you process it as and start writing your own music, which is also a cool way.
All right. So the same time that sound's going on in San Francisco in the early 80s, DC has that weird thing going down.
Yeah, what's that called? I saw it on the Dave Grohl thing, man.
Right.
That whole sound I had no idea was going on.
Well, if you go down there, the number of people who were like, oh, I was there and there was 15 people or there was 30 people and we were playing, in a backyard, that always cracks me up. Yeah. Like everyone seemed to have seen it at one time or another,
Yeah. What was that stuff called?
What would you call that, Chris? What?
Like the DC hardcore scene, like Fugazi?
Yeah.
Minor Threat?
No, before... it's like right before that, yeah. I mean, but they called it something on there because there was like Bad Brains and stuff.
Right.
But there was something right before that.
Oh, you're talking about like the go-go music
that
too?
Stuff.
Yeah, man, that stuff is...
That stuff.
Yeah, that was like a black scene that was happening at the same time.
But that was really interesting that I had never heard, me being a music freak, had never heard of the go-go scene at all.
Well, that is always really interesting too when there's like a kind of scene that exists and everybody in that area knows about it, but no one else does,
That's wild.
It's like the shag music that was just along the coast. You know what I mean? Just along the coast of the Carolinas, and it's a weird R&B, and dances go with it. And then you're like, but who else was into this?
Yeah.
Nobody, but we've
shag
been doing
music. Is that like the slang for fucking, Like,
I think so.
It was like sexy R&B?
Yeah, it was like sexy R&B, but not all R&B. It was like just some...
Right.
And for some reason, the band chairman of the board is beloved there. Like, they could play 15, 20,000 people and then go 40 miles away and, nobody knows them.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's also kind of like a lot of like early jam bands, they would have these big draws in college towns.
Yeah.
But they would go other places and no one would even go at all because college students would go from college to college. So they'd be like, this band's big where we're from, almost like their football team or whatever. It was like their team, the band would be,
Yeah.
So the band could roll in like a blues traveler and just fucking sell out like Sun Stadium. You're like, who the hell is this band?
Well, in the 80s too, that whole left of the dial thing, but like with the Replacements, there was college radio for the first time ever got big, and it's just public radio is all it is. But, to even bring that up, look how Prince had his scene going, his kind of R&B 80s scene at the same time as there was this kind of a punk Minneapolis scene.
Yeah,
too.
in the same town.
Same
right
time,
up the street.
yeah.
It's almost like 5 minutes away at that bar because I went to First Avenue.
Right.
And then you go where all those bands are playing that bar, and you're like, wow, this is like 3-4 minutes away.
Right.
You know, that's so wild. And also a pocket in America where it's like, how could that much good music be happening? You know, it's wild.
Yeah, man. And it's all happening. And you just like some of it. If you just listen to popular music at the time, you might have missed the entire thing. You could have lived there, but if you don't go to those clubs, you know,
if you're
out.
just a radio AM guy or FM guy going to work in the morning, you're not going to know about that at all. You have to definitely be a scenester and somebody that goes out at night, you know. I think that's how a lot of people miss stuff or come on way late. You know, by the 4th, 5th album, and then that's the old where the real fans are like, yeah, I don't like them anymore. That whole thing,
right? Because they
turned over.
they got to share it. They got to suddenly share it. All right. Well, here's another thing that's always been crazy to me. New York in the late 70s. It's literally a bankrupt city.
Yeah.
You can't survive here, and you get punk rock being born downtown. Disco, midtown, and early hip hop, you know, uptown.
Yeah, that's
the
nuts.
most creative time maybe in New York's history.
Yeah.
And everybody who wasn't at those scenes were like, oh, this city is dead. It's sad.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
Not only that, but those people only stayed in their scenes.
Right.
So Lower East Side, CBGB people, they never went past 14th Street.
I've never met anyone from those days that told me that
they went to all of them.
Yeah, that they were in Studio 54 and CBGB's.
Nope, not at all.
And that scene, I mean, really, until they all got signed and played, they weren't really even playing outside that one shitty little room.
That's it.
And that guy wasn't really even... It wasn't like he was a connoisseur of music. He just said, here's a stage, but you gotta play original music.
Same thing with Ness in San Francisco with the Mabuhay Gardens. Here's this Thai restaurant. And then some guy goes, hey, can I put a concert in here on a Monday night? And next thing you know, he's got Devo and Dead Kennedys and Blondie and all that. So same thing's going on the West Coast in a Thai restaurant. So it's amazing the makeshift little rooms that become the punk rock icon rooms.
Well, you know, it's just like in stand-up comedy. If you go and play a room, some guy's independent room, you're going to tell your friends about it. You go, oh, this guy, he takes care of you. You can eat. You're going to make enough money to move on. You know, so that kind of word of mouth that is by the creative people.
Yeah.
You know?
It's, you know, what's interesting, too, is I don't get into punk rock till later because in the 70s, I'm 52, I saw Saturday Night Fever, and I fell in love with it. I wanted to be Travolta. I don't know what I was, 12 years old or something. I'd have to do the math. But I wanted to be at the lit up dance floor.
Yeah.
I loved having a crew. My whole life I thought I got the crew. When they walk up and he goes, shut up, fools. We're the faces. He's telling them to shut up as they walk into the disco. That part knocks me out so hard. I wanted an Impala. I wanted to go out all night and just, burn rubber and hang out, and I fell in love with that. And then also right after that, I fell into the love of Rapper's Delight and early hip hop because I went to an all black camp, a boys club camp in Oakland. So I fell in love with that, and now I love the punk rock. Years later,
right?
It's crazy.
Well, here's the interesting thing to me about that Travolta film. It's very rare to capture in real time what's happening. Right. Normally you go back like American Graffiti, you need 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, you do it later.
This was exactly why it was happening. And like the summer after that, as that movie's coming out, those discos are opening all over the country based on one album and one movie.
That's so wild, right? It's like the early comedy boom of the 80s, the first one.
Yeah.
I was in San Francisco during that, so it's huge. You know, you got Bobcat, you got Carrie Snow, and you've got Bobby Slayton. They've got the Morning Zoo. This thing's hot. Comedy is exploding. It's on TV now, Evening at the Improv. It's all over. All of a sudden, everywhere in California, every bar that used to be like, they went from urban cowboy bar with having which is another Travolta movie. So you go from disco, lit up floors, to ride a bull, to a microphone and a fucking light.
Yeah.
And it went just like that, man. It was disco, then Ride a Bull, and then comedy. And every bar had a comedy night. I couldn't believe it. Everywhere I went, comedy night, live comedy. Didn't matter who was in there.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, you would just put up the word comedy and people
were in
would
there.
show up for it.
Oh, they loved it, you know? And most of the time, I didn't even realize now that I do comedy, but it would be one good headliner that would just pop around and do these, you know, weekend shows, like a one-off. And then it would be a bunch of, you know, local guys.
Local guys who had been doing it 3 months and were already getting paid.
Exactly.
You know?
It's so wild to think about that, you know?
I'm going to get you into another, like, weird scene thing. If you look at these English boys in the early 60s, what was the reason that they would connect to kind of older black guys that were on the other side of the world? Isn't that one of the strangest things that have happened? And they all loved the blues. They all
of them. That's how Mick
blues.
and Keith bonded at a train station over the blues, you know?
And they weren't really selling it. Some of those guys I've had the chance to interview on my show, and they would be like, well, if you lived where the ships were coming in, the sailors would be bringing these albums back.
Yeah.
Now, how was that a marketing plan?
Yeah.
How did all these 14, 15-year-old whiter than white kids hear this music and suddenly like, oh, yeah, the Chicago blues is the way to go?
I believe, and I truly believe this, that was the first, like I told you at the top of the interview, how I love dangerous music. I believe that was the first dangerous music in their minds of like, you know, it was so pure back then in Europe, you know, and it was just so AM radio or whatever, you know, the BBC, whatever they're playing. And it was really restricted back then. Remember, it was like 2 channels. You couldn't have this. So I believe that was the first thing that was almost like a culture thing to him, like, oh my God, listen to these stories, and this is radical. That's actually radical to hear, like, don't burn, down, you know, and you're just like, what? And it would take them somewhere, you know, and I believe that's kind of the attraction of it. It was just so greasy and felt, you know, like wild.
Right.
You know?
And the fact that these were all like working class kids.
Right.
Maybe that was in England like what it was like to be a minority there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they're suddenly in their own way like, this music sounds like a switchblade to us. It sounds like a metal fist, and we're gonna use it.
I believe that.
I hadn't heard anyone ever say that before, but I find it fascinating now that you did, man. Because I've always been baffled.
Yeah,
always been and I mean, I don't know if they dug anything else. I don't like they were like we were listening to skiffle music before. You're like, what?
I know skiffle music. It's like Jimmy Page. You know, he's playing skiffle.
Yeah,
and when you see him, you know, it's just so like
it's so strange.
Oh, it really is strange. But you got to think there was nothing.
Yeah.
There's no internet. There's 2 channels. It's regulated. You've got no money. You don't have any money to buy anything.
There's still holes in the ground from where the Germans bombed. They haven't even got to imagine, like, you know, now thinking what those parents were thinking. Like, when I was your age, I'm fighting Nazis and they're bombing my home. And now you guys are dressing up like girls and you're just enjoying life. You know, the parents must have felt like, how was this fair?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know. We worked so fucking hard, and now you're just smoking early on, trying weed.
Yeah.
And you're out, you're out fucking, and you got long hair, which back then, long hair, the beginning of long hair is funny. Like, you're thinking of the Beatles mop tops. That's so dangerous. You're like, oh my God, look at these rebels, It's just so, we'll never be able to ever see that again of a simple time.
We'll never get that kind of shock, right?
No, not really. But I do think that we will keep hearing some newer stuff. There's even in comedy, people are. I think that Rollins, although it's not straight comedy, when he goes out and does spoken word for 3 hours, I think it's one of the coolest.
He's fascinating.
Coolest formats I've ever seen.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, and I think things just keep evolving, but. It gets down into that thing when people say there's no good music anymore. I just know we're not going to have anything to talk about, because that person didn't keep trying to grow and seek new stuff out.
Yeah, I mean, there is something weird about music where people go, well, my high school or college years is my music and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't do that with movies. They don't go, hey, I grew up in the early 80s and we had the best.
I love Scarface only. To me, after Scarface, they never made a good movie again. They're like, if you watch Scarface again, the first hour is good, the second hour sucks.
Yeah.
The thing about music, I believe, and I say this in my on stage, is to most people, music, all it is a time machine back to when they didn't have bills and maybe a divorce and all that. It's just a time machine back to when they had freedom. And that's what it is to them. So it comes on, they go, oh, I love this song. It reminds me of No Student Loans.
Right.
That's really what it is. Where, to me, I barely listened to the music from when I was growing up, other than the bands that I worship, the 70s stuff. But I don't just go back and listen to 5 bands, I listen to hundreds of bands.
There must be something where when you're younger, you're so raw and you're so ready, and that somehow life beats you down a little bit, and you can't just be stopped by something. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you don't keep art in your life,
I believe that
you're in real trouble.
You're done.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I find inspiration in everything. I'll go to a museum, a painting, a rock and roll T-shirt, an amazing, like a Frank Lloyd Wright house, a new car design, a guy, doing spoken word, whatever. If I like to try to go see the best of the best. Like I went and saw the Bruce Springsteen on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. And here I am, 52 years old, couple thousand shows under my belt easily of concerts. And to be able to say, 6 months ago, I saw one of the top 3 shows of my life. That is amazing.
And he did it differently than he's done any other show, right?
I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
He basically comes out, and if you've read his book, he just takes chapters from the book and he recites them. And as he's reciting a chapter, he gets into the song that obviously the chapter was about. So let's just say he comes out, and it's one of the most incredible, sparse shows I've ever seen. So he comes on, he's like, I grew up a fraud. I sang about hot rods and motors and engines. I've never turned a bolt in my life. I don't even know what a carburetor is. But somehow you guys let me into your heart. And as he's telling this story, it's chapter 1. I go, this is chapter 1. Weird. And then he goes into my hometown. And you're like, oh, wow. Look, I get goosebumps whenever I think about it because it's so insane. And then, then the next song, you don't know what song it is. He's talking about growing up and everything and Freehold. And then he plays Growing Up. It's red. And by mid-show, he starts describing how he meets Clarence. We're behind this bar. This guy comes up. He says, I can play, you know, the big man. And you're like, wow. He's telling the story of meeting Clarence. And then he plays, you know, Born to Run, you know, and it's all acoustic or on the piano by himself. He's 5 feet away from you in a little box. You're in this theater that's so small, and you're just floored. And you go, yeah, man, this guy is a superstar. Straight up a master of art, man. He's telling me stories. He's singing songs. I'm crying at sometimes. I'm laughing, and I'm moved. I floated out of there. After I saw it.
You know, the thing about Spring, do you watch the Jimmy Iovine thing?
Loved it.
Right?
Loved it.
When you see at a young man just like how driven he was, you know?
That Born to Run sessions.
Yeah, man. And you're just like, Jimmy Iovine's like, I'm falling apart. You know what I mean? Like I can't even look at this fucking guy anymore. He's crushed me. And it's that weird thing that like a lot of times you'll find out, oh, an artist isn't a nice guy. Yeah. You know, like Miles Davis wasn't a nice guy. So do you throw that shit out? And you're like, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of times people ask me, man, you got somewhere pretty quick in your comedy career, 8.5 years. And I'm like, it's all I want to do. And now at 44, now I'm 52, but at 44 when I started, I realized, oh, I really love this. And when you really love something like Bruce did, you're just not even seeing anything else. Years have gone by with me right now, just years. I can't even tell you where I've been and most of the shows. I've done almost 3,000 shows. I don't even remember most of them because it's just nose to the grind, you know, and you're just in it and you're enjoying all of it. I couldn't even tell. I go through the photos. Thank God for Instagram and my camera because I'm like, oh, I relive it. Like, wow, I forgot about this, you know, like being in Detroit and getting to go see, you know, I remember the lady, I talked her into letting me go into Motown. They were closed. I was like, you don't understand. I'm never going to be here again. Right. Probably. Let me in. And she let me in and just gave me this great tour. That kind of stuff I just remember from the comedy, you know. It's and that's how I look at Bruce or anybody. If you really love what you're doing, you go for it with the pedal down. And everything else just is to the wayside. Partying, video games, going out with your buddies. Especially at this age, I'm well over that. They're married, they've got kids, divorces, jobs, or whatever. I'm into something totally different, and it's wild, you know. But to be at that age, at Bruce, and have that much focus. And you know,
yeah, when he certainly doesn't need to do it other than the creativity, right? I mean, that's the only thing is he's going, can I do this thing? You know, and I don't know if his management feels like, oh, this is, you know, I mean, just think of how many stadium shows he's not doing while he plays that little room.
Yeah, but his manager is incredible. Yeah. Original manager. And that guy, those guys are real careful. And I look at certain people's careers, and I study them and how not to make the wrong move. You know, there's a lot of careers. That's what's great about entertainment or even business. You have so many people out there that you can study and go, oh, here's where the bad move was.
Right.
And either you study it and you get on the path and you either make the bad move too, you know, or you go, I'm not taking that wrong turn. I look at guys like Tom Waits. I look at Bruce. I look at like, you know, even comedians, Bill Burr, even Ari Shaffir. I look at Ari Shaffir big time about, you know, I'm doing what I want to do. And I don't give a fuck what the business says. You know, you do need to play ball with the business, but you don't need to sell your soul. You know what I mean? I look at it like that, especially in this day and age where you can create your own stuff, you know?
Well, you know, Waits never seemed like he played the game, right? Tom Waits is just, and it was still, I caught him in the 70s when, you know, it was like he was doing stuff like Closing Time and Small Change. I thought it was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life to this day.
Yep.
And it was, he changed that whole scene. Like he just went in a different direction. And I'm telling you, I'm watching it and I'm like, this is as good as Sinatra or whoever. And then he was just dropped all that kind of playing. And it's just amazing to me.
And that's when I come in. I come in on the Bone Machine record and I go see the Bone Machine tour at in Oakland at the Paramount. And there's 5 shows in my hand right now. Look, I've seen thousands of shows and I'll tell you lots of them were next level. But as far as where you put together art and music, it's Nick Cave, it's Tom Waits, it's Springsteen, it's Rollins, you know. It's a handful of people where it was multiple sensories were touched, you know what I mean? Of like, wow, I don't even know what I just saw, you know, like Lucinda Williams on the Car Wheels and a Gravel Road tour. It's just like, whoa, they're next level things, you know? And by the time I see Tom Waits on Bone Machine, I'd never seen anything like that before. I don't even know what the fuck I was seeing, man.
Right.
The music was so organic and real. I was like, how are they making these sounds? You know, when the earth starts screaming and the light they're dreaming. And the band's just playing like circus music behind them, but it's the heaviest shit you've ever seen. You know, you're going like, wow, man. It's those are the people, man. Those are the people that I like to look at.
What the fuck was in his head to
I don't
do
know.
that?
I don't know. His wife wrote a lot of the lyrics, Catherine, you know, which is even more wilder, you know. But then you get Mule Variations, the next record.
Yeah.
Those two back to back to me. He completely drops that stuff you're talking about.
Right.
He's like, no longer am I the piano crooner.
Right.
And just becomes a full-on his own thing. Nobody does that.
I know, and he really did come out of that singer-songwriter,
totally,
you know, 70s thing. I mean, when you think, you know, Ricky Lee Jones was his girlfriend, and she was probably the last one into that singer-songwriter. Like, she was the last one through the door before it all changed.
Right.
And the next thing you know, like, she's still into that scene, and he's off being as weird as possible.
I love it, and the balls to do that too.
Yeah.
The balls of doing that, of just changing completely. You know, that's what I love about like certain bands. They're completely all different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like even if you look at U2, you know, and you get early on, by the time they get to Octung Baby, you're like, how did this band make Octung Baby, the same one that made like War? You know, like that's people that are pushing themselves more and more. We got to push ourselves more and more, you know. Eventually you run out of push because you've explored all the stuff you want to explore.
And then it gets false that, okay, I'll do it, go in this direction.
Yeah.
Because that was funny about, you know, and I think everybody who grew up loving Bowie thought to themselves, we can't keep staying here. We got to, you know, Bowie would change, you know. And I always liked the fact, like with Bowie, I felt like after the glam years, I was always one album behind.
Right.
I was like, no, I don't like this. And then I would go back to it and go, no, it's fucking great.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I lived in Delaware County. And, you know, when Bowie was coming in to play with, you know, Philly International, and all that, I was like, oh, fuck, he's bringing glam to Philly. This would be great.
Oh, yeah.
And then he makes a soul record. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And now I go back and listen, and I'm like, it's fucking genius that he would do this.
It's like the Dylan, you know, the Catholic records or whatever, you know, Infidels and that stuff, you know, just slayed, and people hated it. Oh, I put it on as some of the best now, man. Like One More Cup of Coffee and Mick Taylor playing on these records, and
Mick Taylor. Huh?
Oh, Mick Taylor, man. Stones never recovered in my eyes. Never recovered.
And when people go, you know, because that era, the Mick Taylor era of the Stones is my favorite Stones. It's probably my favorite band for those albums. And yet most people in the street don't know where that sound comes out of.
It's unbelievable. When you hear Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Unbelievable.
And they play the back half of that, it's some of the most haunting music of rock and roll ever. Just how it gets into that jam. I feel like I'm shooting dope, and I'm in some loft in New York, and I can't get up. And it's just like, that whole thing in there, man.
Yeah.
Bow,
And that literally, like, you would be a little kid and you go, is heroin great? You know what I mean? Like, I would be listening to him or Lou Reed, the Stones and Lou Reed. I'm going, it must be great. It must be unbelievable.
Yeah, I do heroin and I write great songs, right? Even when you get into that Seattle thing.
Yeah, sure.
All those guys. And they're all gone now except for Eddie Vedder. Chris is gone. And then you got Kurt Cobain gone, and Lane Staley gone. That's how real that fucking scene was.
Yeah.
There was no, all the fake bands that came out of that later, like Nickelback and all that sound of like, even STP and all that. When you look at that, that was so real. And that's just, that's the next scene.
Do you think that the rain got to them? Like, just this fucking, and so much rain, like, I can't take it.
And no fucking money.
Yeah.
Seattle back then, I don't know if you went up there around that time, but I played music and I'd go up there. It was just kind of felt like a gloomy, poor city. It felt like some old, you got the port there or whatever where, the fishermen and all that. It just felt like nothing. It was cold and damp, and dark.
Yeah.
And I could see, because I was in San Francisco at the time and a lot of foggy days there, but still nothing. At least San Francisco, you're like, look at this scenery.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the food here and everything. Up there, it's just fucking dark, man. And, but some of the greatest music, even when you look at pre-Pearl Jam, I think one of the greatest bands out of there is Mother Love Bone.
Sure.
And I love Andrew Wood and what he was doing. And he was taking some of that gloom and some of the glam of Bowie and making his own thing. And it was groovy and funky.
Yeah, man. The way that came together where they kind of dug Bowie's heroes and they dug Neil and then they dug punk rock. And the fact that they had it in their own thing, like maybe the second the rest of us found out about it, it started to suck maybe. You know what I mean? Like maybe it was like a ship coming into Hawaii, in the 1600s. Like, oh, fuck, it's over.
Oh, it's over. They're going to all start coming here for vacation.
Yeah.
Seattle was interesting, man, because it was just such a massive scene and a massive influence on not only sound but how everybody dressed, man.
Sure.
The Doc Martens, the flannels, and that was just shit they wore.
Dude, I lived in Florida when that broke and kids were dressing like that and I'm like, you're gonna kill you. You're gonna die down here, man. And they would be just wrapping these flannels around their shorts and you're like, they did not do this to be cool. They're really fucking in trouble up there.
Yeah,
they need to keep warm.
And it's just Goodwill clothes, you know. Like back then, I remember you could get the actual brand Pendleton, which goes for a couple $100 now. You could go get a nice used Pendleton for like $12 at the Goodwill, and that was your jacket. You just wore it every day. You wore the same clothes every day, you know.
So you were hanging up there a little bit before that scene broke nationally.
Yeah, I was playing music all over. So I actually booked. I was not only was I playing music, but I booked a club, and I booked Alice in Chains early on with Pearl Jam when they were called Mookie Blaylock, and became friends with them. And it was funny because last year I toured with Alice in Chains opening for him as a comedian, and it was so full circle. I talked to the guys on the podcast about that early concert of booking them, and having them on. There's only like maybe 40 people at the show, but we all loved them, and it was more about me and my friends wanted to see them, and also we loved Mother Love Bone, so we were like, the Love Bone guys are coming, Mookie Blaylock, let's see what this is. And It was more for us, you know.
Were they playing all original music, or were they doing no? There was no covers in that whole scene, right?
No, none that I saw. You know, it was just the stuff that was on the first record. Pearl Jam's record wasn't out yet.
See, I mean, think about that. We brought up all the different other scenes that you could think of, and they all started as cover bands in some way.
Yeah,
and these guys were just like, no, we're singing our own dark shit, man.
Yeah, and also. What a lot of people don't realize is they come out of the box with their sound. Most bands find their sound a few records in, you know? But if you look at Pearl Jam or, you know, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and they just come out of the box with this dark ass shit, you know?
It's interesting, man.
Yeah.
That is interesting. And it's all, that they all kind of sounded someone like each other. Like they were definitely, instead of sounding like the bands that came before them, like Aerosmith sounded a little bit like, you know, Zeppelin or whatever. When you first heard those bands, you're like, I don't know where this sound's coming from.
It was definitely Sabbath derivative, but way slower and dirgier, and they were tuned down to B and you know, and D. And open tunings and all that shit. They were like drop tuning was what made them sound so dark. So most bands tuned to 440 in E, so it sounds like rock and roll.
Well, you brought up Sabbath. Did Sabbath sound like anybody to you? Like that first record?
I don't know where the fuck.
I know, man.
That to me.
That's the weirdest. I've always said that too.
That's the weirdest to me. Who was doing like evil devil rock?
I know.
You know, like down. Like what?
Yeah, that should have been in a weird movie soundtrack, right?
Oh,
it
like Rosemary's Baby back then. You know, who the fuck? How did the producer? How is he not going like? I'm getting the fuck out of here.
We're just going like this. Guys, this isn't working. I don't know who we're going to sell. You know, kids, this is not going to play at anybody's prom.
I know.
But here's the other thing. Does Ozzy sound like anybody that came before him?
No, man. Especially when you're getting into that, you know, like a Hole in the Sky and stuff. He's like way up there, and it's really evil and wild, and it's his voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I'm looking through all in the sky. It's like, and then when you see the early footage of him, man, you're like, what the fuck? So that is some original shit there. That's some ground zero shit there.
I've always said that. I go, you could always kind of tell where every other band came from, you know?
And I love it when they're like, well, we were just listening to the blues, you know? And like, what blues?
And Ozzy's always like, I love the Beatles.
I know, right?
How?
I know, like not one thing sounds like the Beatles. And the only ballad they had was that Changes, and I'm going through changes. And that's like still evil sounding, you know?
Yeah.
It sounds like suicide, that thing. Like he just took some cyanide from Jim Jones, guy in a grape, you know? Oh, man. You grew up in Florida, right?
No, I grew up outside of Philadelphia and then moved down to Florida later. But
what were some of the early concerts you went to? Did you see anybody rad?
The first show that I saw and hadn't heard of them, it was a band called Frampton's Camel.
Oh, wow.
And that was Peter Frampton.
Frampton's Camel?
Frampton's Camel.
After Humble Pie?
Yeah, it was right after Humble Pie. Humble Pie, I think, was still touring without him. Right. Humble Pie was supposed to be the first show that I went to, and my parents said, no, you're not going into the car with these older boys, you know, and all that. So I saw Frampton, and on that same show was JoJo Gunn and Edgar Winter.
Wow.
So that was like, that was like pure 70s music. You know, it was like a pure Almost Famous.
Total guitar.
Thing. You know, so when I saw Almost Famous the first time, it was like fucking hit me in the chest, because I'm like, this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I know what it was like to be that little kid looking around and just being like, okay, I got a new tribe. Jay Giles used to play all the time, and maybe still the best live band I've ever seen in my life. Faces, bands like that, Deep Purple.
Skynyrd?
Skynyrd, very early Skynyrd, which
Ed
was...
King era?
Yeah, it was just really, really big. But there was a show that I saw in 75 that literally everybody was doing acid for, and it was Pink Floyd.
Oh, yeah.
So we went to see the show.
Is that the Animals tour?
No, it was pre-Animals. It was literally pre-Wish You Were Here, right?
Whoa.
So everyone's doing acid. They come out and play multiple songs from Wish You Were Here, which nobody had heard.
Right.
And we're just fucking holding on to the chairs and shit.
Yeah.
And then they walk off stage after doing... If they didn't do every song from it, they did, 80%, but I would never know. So we were all like, what the fuck is, and then they came back after that and did the entire Dark Side album.
Wow.
So we're just launching, and then they go off again and they do Echoes.
Wow.
And it
Echoes, dude.
It was like the perfect LSD show.
Wow. Like it was like a 3-part play.
Right. So like each time, like we would go, and then they would come back and we were like, oh shit,
Yeah.
And then, but I don't even remember anybody like applauding or anything. We were just like, yeah. This is where we live now. We live inside of this.
Yeah.
And that was like, I'll never have another experience like that. You know,
there's nothing like seeing where the psychedelics line up right at a concert.
Right.
Man, I remember seeing you two on mushrooms for the Octung Baby tour.
Yeah.
I still think about it to this day. Just the way it lined up. The cars are flying over the Mini Coopers.
Yeah.
He's out there with the fly outfit and the leather suit. He's dialing up shit. Are you there? And presidents are coming on the screen and it's just moving me, man. That's like...
And that was just like a couple years after he was Jesus. He was Irish Jesus, and everybody thought, okay, we're going to follow this guy like it's a...
Joshua Tree.
Yeah, Joshua Tree. It was such a major tour and was so touching to everybody. And they just went, oh, fuck it. I'm not, I'm not going to be your religion.
I love how he just reinvented himself. Like he was anti-rock star, and that's how he sold himself. Kind of a Kurt Cobain anti-rock. And then he goes, "Fuck this! I'm going to be the rock star.
Yeah,
I'm going to be the biggest one. Every one I've ever thought. I'm going to throw Elvis in with a little bit of David Lee Roth, some Bowie, like giant rock glasses and everything. And then it was great. It was genius.
And literally. It pissed a lot of people off when that happened because they were really like, hey, what are we going to do? Are we going to save the whales? You know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, I think we found our thing that's going to change the world. And he goes, no, we're rock and roll entertainers.
Yeah. What do you think? A lot of people ask me this, and it's really hard to answer, but what do you think was the greatest concert you ever seen?
I'm going to go back to that thing that, you brought up, that it has to do with the night and the crowd as much as anything.
Right.
And that you have to really be into that whole thing. And I honestly believe that the greatest frontman I've ever seen in my life was Peter Wolf with the Jay Giles Band.
Wow.
And to see them in Philly where people dance and the entire fucking place was dancing. And there was a moment in the show where the whole band went up in the air. They just jumped on a point. And the entire audience jumped with them. 17,000 kids went up in the air.
Wow.
And we all came down at the same time. And the funny thing is I brought that up to Peter Wolf one time when I had the chance to get him on my show. And I see him just kind of go, what? You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I remember that moment. You know what I mean? But it was, I guess, like trying to, like losing your virginity to a prostitute and trying to explain it to her later.
That's just like, dude, you're one of the 1,000 dicks that day. Yeah. That's like one of the 1,000 shows to him in a year.
But there's so many, like, the amazing church thing about music.
I love it.
Where that moment that we could say we kind of understand it, but we don't know how that happens. And I think it happens sometimes for an entire show and sometimes for a part of a show where there's no difference between the audience and the band. And you can look around at people that just go, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like wherever this place is, we're here right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's why people go to church. I think that's, that musical moment where we're going for the spirit, we're going through the spirit, is why people go to church.
Some of those big evangelists, I can see that, where they really they're almost like rock stars.
Yeah.
And they're grabbing people in, and people are, they're disconnected from their problems, their job, their bills, or whatever it is. And then for one good 2 hours, somehow magically, and a lot of it has to do with pre-cell phone, you're completely engulfed in
You're right, man. You can't hold those fucking phones up and get there.
I mean, I recently saw, I went to one of the last Dead shows, the one that was Grateful Dead, not Dead and Co. now, the Fare Thee Well. And, I think one of the last great music scenes is the Deadheads, because they're so into music, still, and being with each other and everything. And I was there, and I was really oh, I get it.
Yeah, me too.
For years, I was like, fuck these hippie dirts. Yeah. I grew up in the Bay Area. I was like, get out of here, Trustafarians and anti, big time. And now I love it so much. And I think it has to do also with the time that we're in right now, of why comedy's big. Comedy was big during bad political times in the 80s, and here's comedy big again, and also some great music coming out. So that's what bad politics brings, great art.
Yeah, there's definitely somebody, poverty helps. Somebody told me, and I'll never forget this thing, because we talked about that New York scene and, the San Francisco scene and the Detroit scene, and these were all problem times in America. But someone said to me, great art is young people in old buildings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I'll never stop thinking about that, because just when everybody thinks it's shit, some young people, they're at the beginning of their time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. How do you get into comedy? Because I'm a West Coast guy, and I didn't know who Ron and Bennington is, because I didn't know Bennington and Fez.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up on any. I didn't even grow up on any Anthony and Opie. I didn't know any of this stuff. I know Howard Stern because once he
was national.
He got national.
Yeah.
But I'm a West Coast guy, and all my DJs are out there and everything. But how does that all start for you? Who are your comics? Because I see you every night. We work together all the time at the Cellar and stuff.
Well, I've only been doing stand-up again for a year and a half. I quit for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I was down in Florida. I wouldn't have ever gone and done comedy if the comedy explosion didn't come to me. I never would have, I'm going to go to New York or LA. I didn't think that kind of stuff was possible.
Right.
And then I jumped into it, and it was easy enough to get involved opening up my own nights and my own rooms. And once I did that, open a club with a couple people, went to promote it on a radio station. I would bring my comics down, and they go, people forget this, but before podcasting, stand-ups were pretty bad on the radio.
Yeah.
They were really like, I'm not doing my material, and I'm not answering this weird guy.
Yeah.
So they said, look, why don't you come down by yourself? And I came on a Friday, and it was like, a big day for them. They go, come back. You can promote Thursday and Friday, and then come on Wednesday. And then they just go, look, a book came out, and we're doing really great. Why don't you be the new morning show with this broadcaster? And we just turned around and had the #1 show in Tampa.
That's nuts.
It was insanely backing into something. And it's just like, I've never been an ambitious guy. I'm a pretty lazy guy. And, that's how I ended up buying homes and raising kids and all that kind of stuff. And when that show broke up, we came up here to New York, and I was on the same station as O&A. And then when they got fired, I went to D.C. for a little while. And then Sirius said, look, we're bringing you guys and O&A here. And that was it. It was XM then.
Right.
And, I kind of backed into anything. And then because of that, when I got into this kind of stuff, they go, is there anything else you want to do? And I go, I'll do some interview shows. And I started Unmasked. And I think we have, like 175 hours of me talking with, stand-ups about their careers and
That's
stuff
amazing.
like that. And I do, interview shows with rock people. I do shows talking about scenes and playing songs from scenes. Now I work with my daughter, which is a really weird turn to take. And And it's all just been fun. But if it wasn't easy, I wouldn't have done any of it.
Yeah.
Not a hard worker at all.
Yeah. What do you think you would have done if it wasn't this?
I was literally banking on an early death. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that
I was the
my
same way.
Yeah,
like I thought I'll be riding this out hard.
Yeah,
And then you get to a certain age and you're kind of like, oh.
Well, you know, I just became a grandfather, and it's been weirdly the sweetest, best thing that's ever happened to me. And again, something unplanned. There's no responsibility to it whatsoever. You know. And it's just like another one of those surprises in life that I didn't see coming.
Well, I can't thank you enough for doing the show, man. And
Dude,
thanks for having me on Bennington on Sirius XM, everybody. It's on, what is it, every day?
Every day on, what channel are we on, Chris?
Faction Talk 103 at 2 p.m. East, Monday through Friday.
And I want to say about this, man, the first time I saw you, I dug you right away. I dug exactly where you were coming from. You're so much fun. And I think you got that lust for life, and it comes across in everything, man. So thank you so much, and what a pleasure.
Thank you for having me on.
This was a blast.
It was great to be on your show, and I love working with you. Like whenever I see it, it's like, all right, Ron's here, you know, and it's the East Coast has some really great people out here doing comedy, and it's just great to see them every night. You know, it really jacks me up. Like I'm like, oh my God, there's Ron, and there's Jimmy Norton, and fuck, there's a Tell. You know, and I'm just like,
you can't just go in and go through the paces. You know,
that's why I love it. I like to get myself pushed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's kind of a positive, competitive.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
I love it.
You know, and again, what's that? It's kind of like jazz. You know what I mean? You got to up your game.
Got to up your game, man. You got to up your game because Miles Davis is in the room.
Here comes Coltrane.
All right, there you guys go. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Left to Be Talked. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and iTunes, and check out that brand new Conan set I just put up on YouTube, and give that a little love there. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by Wyco Vintage, my fantastic rock and roll t-shirt sponsor. Go to wycovintage.com. Look for that vintage concert shirt you've always wanted. Use the code DELRAZOR and get yourself a great discount. Del Razor, wycovintage.com, place of all the greatest vintage t-shirts. See you guys.